Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm going to call the Thursday, October 17th, 1 p.m. School Board Workshop Information Only meeting to order. Will you please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem. Thank you. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare
Okay. Any special announcements? If not, we'll go right to school board liaison updates. Mr. Furry.
Okay. Not a lot to report this time, but Belltown Elementary, SAC does have their next meeting coming up on November 9th. Also, bear with me, I need to get my email back up here. In regards to the chamber, they did a tour with Ms. Moore and to look at our career education, and they had given some feedback that they were very impressed with what they had to see. So as one who took that tour a long time ago before I was elected, I can understand what they felt, because I felt the same way when I walked through about all the amazing things that we have to offer our students so that they can have those skills right after graduation. So that was pleasant to hear that feedback from the community. So, all right, so that's all I have for today.
Okay.
All right,
Ms. John.
The Bunnell SAC meeting, the next meeting is October 19th. And for Buddy Taylor, their next meeting is October 26th. I have some updates from Buddy Taylor. They passed a mini grant for positive behavioral interventions and support for $3,300. Students can earn points and spend them in the nest. This year they have 1,400 students. This is for rewards to encourage positive behavior on campus. The approval of the school improvement plan. Focus of strength is math, focus of improvement, ELA, ESSA groups, some strategies for improvement, learning walks, co-teach model, and the Eagle advisory. Climate and culture. Goal is to reduce number of suspensions by monitoring students and increase positive behaviors with the new house system, the 4 houses, 1 family. Principals report. Students will have a house meeting the week of, that happened on August 29th. And this is to encourage them in something that's bigger than themselves, teamwork and friendly competition. We also have 7 new portables and reports that traffic patterns and car riders are going well. That's it.
That's fine.
Yeah, so just a brief update for Rimfire. They had their SAC meeting last week, right during the tornado threats. So it was a quick meeting, but there was just a lot of great discussion about the upcoming Fall Festival, which is always very well attended and a really big event for Rimfire. I believe it's October 26th. I tried to look it up online. I'm pretty sure it's October 26th, and I encourage anybody to attend because I went last year and it was amazing. So that's what's going on for Rimfire.
Dr. Conklin.
I'm sorry, I don't have anything right at this moment in time, but
That's fine. Okay, a couple things. Matanzas High School SAC, I see we have the principal here today, but at the SAC meeting, the vote was made to approve the new members, so that's good, the more the merrier. Construction of the new wing is moving along and it's currently ahead of schedule, so let's hope it stays that way, because we gotta get that space for those kids. We reviewed improved the SAC bylaws, and Principal Bozeman reviewed recent fast testing results and how they're gonna utilize those scores to target and pinpoint and educate our children to make it even better the next time around. So that's good. Flagler Technical College had their first meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough for a quorum, which is sad because we needed to conduct business, and there was a couple situations where people couldn't attend. So hopefully we can resolve that in January. But one of the biggest issues that is very real and evident there is the minimal pay that they have. We're increasing CTEs like crazy. It's wonderful. These programs are great, but we can't hire staff at $17 an hour. So we have a problem. It's not just a Flagler problem. It is a state problem, but it's something that we've really got to look into. If we want to continue having all these wonderful programs, we've got to get more money to these teachers so they can go to McDonald's and make more money. And we've got to do something as a group and as a state and try to get some changes made there so we can get more money into those programs because they need it. What else? Focus on Flagler Youth Coalition. They have National Prescription Take Back Day is Saturday, October 28th. All right, Saturday, October 28th. It's generally from 9 a.m. till noon, and it's held at generally the Publix stores in work with the Flagler County Sheriff's Office. So if you have any drugs or unused medications, which is what we get tons of it, we have filled bins with unused medications, things that didn't work, and they're still in your medicine cabinet. Please make an effort to turn those in because we don't want any accidents happening. We want to get rid of them legally, okay? And don't put them down your toilet because that's not great for the water system, all right? Virtual Teen Town Hall, we had our first organizational meeting. Next meeting we'll have event dates and topics. We actually have one coming up, which is going to be October 25th. It is on vaping and the dangerous effects of fentanyl. Vaping and the dangerous effects of fentanyl. First 15 to 20 minutes is for experts on those topics, and it is conducted, the entire event is conducted by our 2 school board liaisons. I'm really looking forward to working with these 2 gentlemen. All right, Red Ribbon Week, 10:23 to 10:30. That's a big event in all the schools. Red Ribbon Week, 10:23 to 10:30. The theme is be kind to your mind, live drug-free. Be kind to your mind, live drug-free. Know the Law video updates are definitely in progress. We have to change a lot. Every time there's an SRD change, we have to change their segment for the Know the Law, and that is every year, pretty much. All right, Prevention Advocacy Day. Florida legislation has served us well because we take 4 to 6 students up for that day, and we're looking forward to it being set soon. I don't have the exact date, but we take 6 kids, and last year Senator Hudson took us around the campus and took us through Congress and the House. It was really exciting. The kids had an education that we can't give them in the classroom. So I'm looking forward to that. Flagler Auditorium Governance Board. They met. Single show tickets are selling fast now. The calendar of events was distributed. I have this. If you're interested in seeing the shows that they have available, I highly recommend you buy tickets because some of these shows are beginning to sell out. However, they have a freebie on November 3rd. November 3rd is the United States Navy Band, Commodore's Jazz Ensemble. I have seen them in the past. They are outstanding. Free tickets. You have to go to, what's the barbecue place? I don't want to lose that. Woody's. I'll go to Woody's. I'd make sure I go to Woody's. Free tickets. Just go in. You don't have to buy food, but you'll get free tickets for as many as you need for that show. Again, that's November 3rd, 7 o'clock. So that's good to know. That's all I have. You may pass it down and take a look at it. Okay, that's all I have. All right. Going down now to agenda changes, additions and changes. Are there any?
Yes, I recommend that we move 10.01, the legislative platform, to right after public comment. We will have Mr. Sarah that will join us via live stream, and we want to ensure that we have enough time to have that conversation.
Okay. And anything else? That's it?
That is all.
All right. All right, so we're moving 10.01 right after 4.01. Everybody have that change?
Yep.
All right. Public comment. Do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment at this time.
All right, no public comment. So we're going to 10.01. Is Mr. Bob Sarah available?
Yes, the team is
Getting him up?
Getting him
There
up.
he is.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Good afternoon.
All right, we're ready for you.
So included in your packet was some draft language that includes 4 bullets that reflect some of the conversations that I had with board members individually to try to gather what some of your individual priorities are and to mesh that with some items that were coming from staff and the superintendent, and also things that seem to be current with the legislature. With a focus, we're trying to have a focus on items that are Flagler County specific where possible. So that's what we've pulled together for the purposes of discussion today. I'm going to review the 4 bullets just real quickly and then open it up and allow the board members to have conversation amongst themselves about the issues that are important to you. But what we've drafted for you is to have a local project request related to the technical college facilities. And the draft was supposed to include a number in it, and the number that has been agreed to as far as for discussion purposes was $1.6 million, which is what it would take to add 3 classrooms and 2 bathrooms to the existing facility to support classrooms, to support additional courses being offered. The second bullet is a change to the teacher certification requirements to allow the district to recruit folks into critical teacher shortage areas and allow us to provide full-time status to those folks. The third bullet is about the current 5-year work plan and trying to protect that plan against changes to required capital outlay sharing. And there was indicated in the Senate that there was an openness to this, and what makes it more of a local priority, even though it is a statewide issue, is that we have 10% of our students in charter schools, and the statewide average is closer to 7%. And then the final issue is about increasing the funding for career and technical program operations in order to be able to offer the salaries, the hourly rates within that subgroup of teachers. in order to recruit them out of the private sector opportunities that they might have. And those are the four positions that we've drafted for conversation. And I really want to just sort of allow the five of you to discuss, how you feel about those priorities and give us some feedback so that the idea is that you probably need to have a special meeting to adopt your platform, because you probably shouldn't wait until after Thanksgiving to do that. And the local project needs to be submitted in the House by mid-November to meet a deadline there. But these are the statements that have been drafted for you to have discussion around.
Okay, I'll open the floor for discussion with school board members. Anybody? Dr. Conklin?
Bob, with the first and the second one, could those technically go together? Or is one for just the facility allocation and one for just salaries?
So you're talking about the first and the fourth.
Yeah.
So the first item is actually a local project request, and the dollar amount would be for $1.6 million for discussion purposes. And that would be a local funding request that we would submit a local project request for. And that's really specifically if the legislature agrees to it, if the delegation agrees to it and the legislature agrees to it, that would be a local project request. The fourth bullet is really dealing with operations funding, and that's not a local funding request. That is a formula change as far as how those programs are weighted.
And do you think it would be beneficial if we stick to all four, or you want us to try to narrow it down to 1 and 2?
My initial recommendation to you was that we try to keep it as limited as possible. I'm not opposed necessarily to having 4. I would like us to be as focused on issues that are highly local issues, and try to channel the issues that are statewide towards other platforms like the superintendents and the school administrators and the school boards association. But that's my recommendation, and the board, you can adopt whatever platform you wish to adopt. This is your platform.
Anybody else?
No, not much to add to that. Yeah. We didn't have a lot of time this time around to really kind of deep dive into this, but I would like to hear from Ms. Moore of these items. Which ones would you see as a priority that would help in your leadership here?
So outside of the facilities, definitely, and we can have Dave to come up and show you some of the items and our thoughts around the facility, and if that is not an area that we are awarded, how can we find other ways that we can continue to move forward in that area. Bullet 2 around the temporary teacher certification to address teacher shortage areas is, I think, paramount. I did have an opportunity when I sat before the delegation to throw this out a little bit, and did get some nods as to that is something interesting to look towards. We are able to place an individual out of field for a year. However, we do have individuals that apply for teaching positions that do not have a degree in an area that will allow them to have any level of certification, temporary certification. And so if they were to open this up, this would help us tremendously. So number 2 is definitely a priority when we think about the staffing of our schools. And then the third bullet, to ensure that we can continue to move forward with the items that are on our 5-year capital plan as additional dollars are shared with our charter school. I think that bullet 4 is a need. I would ask, have we done all that we can do locally to address this area before we just take that as a priority as well? That would be my question. Do we feel like we've maximized all that we can do in order to have the most competitive salaries for our Flagler Technical College before we ask for additional funding is what my recommendation would be.
Dr. Crum?
Bob, the 5-year plan, just for further clarification for everyone, is to keep it on the slope, the gradual implementation of sharing those dollars instead of going to full allocation.
The request here is taking advantage of some of the statements that were made on the Senate floor when the glide path was passed, where certain senators indicated that they were willing to look at ways of offsetting the impact of the glide path with state dollars, or by expanding the source, or other, just looking at different things. And I have some ideas about how that could be done. And one of them is simply that the state could fund it in the same way that they funded the expansion of the other parental choice for operations. They could also fund the capital needs. It's a much smaller number, but they indicated that they were willing to look at that and consider it. And so I think it would be important to put that on the table. In looking at the 5-year plan, you haven't, to my knowledge, you haven't readopted yet based upon the sharing plan, but a 5-year work plan was adopted just last year, and you may have to make changes to the very first year of that work plan based upon policy changes that were made by the legislature. So the ask would just simply be for the legislature to look at preserving that work plan moving forward. And that's the ask.
So the ask is to replace the dollars lost.
Yes, and there's a number of different ways that could happen. For example, while the commissioner didn't earmark it just for the districts that had to share, there was money in PICO for school district maintenance for the first time in years, and that could be a way of offsetting it, where you're required to share out of this pot, but it's refunded in another place. There are a number of ways this could be done.
Do you think this is a statewide issue or a localized issue? Because I'm kind of thinking it's statewide.
It is a statewide issue, and the only thing that makes it more important to Flagler County than the state as a whole is that you have more than the average percentage of students in your charter schools.
The 10%.
So, where there are a number of districts that don't have charters at all, that's what makes this more of a local priority than it is somewhere else, where they may not have to change their 5-year plan at all because they don't have to do any sharing.
Thank you for that.
So we can assume, Bob, that the project that we have to have is the first item listed here with the technical college for 1.6 million, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the question to the board is, of the 3 things listed below, to me, is there anything that you think we should not pursue at this particular time?
I would say only if it hurts our chances, if it muddies the water by having too many, and Superintendent Moore feels like bullet 4 at this time can drop off. If we have a stronger position going in with dropping off 4, then I would support that. I'm in alignment with the question that Mr. Furry asked. You know, Superintendent Moore, as our soon-to-be Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Sarah could tell you in our conversation, I said, you know what, I really, Superintendent Moore has been here a long time. I'm putting my trust in her as the Chief Executive Officer that she knows what needs to be done. And so not to pass the buck to her, but I really am kind of seeking out her guidance on, you know, what we need to put out there and how we put our best foot forward out. So, Chair Massaro, I am open to leaving it as is or dropping off the fourth bullet if that increases our position.
Okay, anybody else?
I agree with that. I trust Superintendent Moore's judgment, and yeah, she's been here the longest, so she would know what's best. So I think we'll get behind whatever she wants to do.
Well,
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that as well, so.
Okay, so
And
top
So,
three.
based on
we're
my
gonna take the
conversation
top
with
three.
Mr. Sarah, I think that's probably the best.
we'll take the top three, but I'm gonna add to that, not with Mrs. Sherrick, but with LaShaka, that I need for
Makes it a
you,
priority.
yes, to find out what other options we have to increase salaries, because we're looking now to possibly have a project of 1.6 million to increase CTE education with FTC. And then again, you're gonna need more employees. You don't have the salary, we're gonna have a problem. So it's something we're gonna have to put, and we can, because it's not here yet, we have time, but that's something you're gonna have to keep on mind, that it's
Yeah.
coming.
Absolutely. And again, these are all our requests, right? So, you know, even if it's on there, doesn't mean that it's gonna happen.
No, but-
But, you know, and I think it's important for us to look at the last session and see where the strength of our legislators of things they're more open to is an opportunity that we might get more of what we want, right? So.
And I think we have to, if we were to keep bullet 4, we would have to be very strategic on how we word that, because just the first couple words, increase funding for career and technical program operations, you know, when we
Mean a
look
whole
at
bunch
it,
of things.
yes, and we look at the amount of money that has been put into it, you know, do they need to shift the dollars? Are the dollars, have we not been able to access the dollars because of our size? Is it because all of the dollars have been competitive? We would have to really wordsmith this in a way that allows us to explain what it is that we're seeking, because a lot of dollars have been earmarked for career and technical education right now. That is my position on that. We don't, you know, we don't wanna, we would just need to look at that and really make sure that we're able to articulate it in a way that will highlight the deficit in the areas that they've already provided dollars.
I would agree with that, because
I don't-
they've been very focused on CTE and CTE funding, so that also might lead to a whole bunch of questions with what you're doing with your CTE dollars.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question on that? Superintendent Moore, I think like a previous workshop, you mentioned that there might be dollars also out there through grants or whatnot that maybe we haven't even captured yet. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, so what we've been doing with Renee, and Renee, if you want to come and be a part of the conversation, I definitely ask that she be allowed to do that. But she, as well as Mr. Blair, we're really focused on identifying the dollars that are currently available and ensuring that we are either writing for those dollars if they are through competitive grants, that we're taking advantage of the monies that are out there currently right now.
Hi.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, the first thing is regarding bullet number 4. If it is intended for post-secondary education, we need to say that it's for post-secondary education, because the majority of the dollars are funneled to K through 12, which specifically leaves the technical colleges in the state out. The other thing is through Senate Bill 240, there was $100 million that was allocated for career and technical education growth in secondary programs. That did include dual enrollment programs because it serves secondary students, and that's how the technical colleges are able to apply and possibly grab a piece of those funds. And so those concept papers, which is all it is right now, were due to the state Department of Education on the 16th. And we submitted one for dual enrollment, and Adam also submitted one for K through 12. So we're on top of that and asking for the funding where we can get it. They, through the webinars, they're pretty specific that they don't want a lot of the dollars to go to teachers, and it can't be used for supplanting. So, and it can't be used for a brand new building. It has to be used to expand a current existing structure if it's used for construction. So what we are finding is that even though there are a lot of dollars being funneled into K through 12, they're so pigeonholed as to how we can use them, and we're using those to the best of our ability and making use of everything that we can.
The post-secondary language is important. I'm glad you pointed that out, that if this is, very specific around that.
All right, so I think we have a consensus that we're going to go with the first three. Am I correct? Everybody's happy with that?
Yes.
And that's something we're going to look to the future and try to figure out, make sure we have every spending opportunity and collecting opportunity for funding to that. But that is the problem. The biggest problem is the restrictions that come along with the money that they're releasing.
Yeah.
And it really pigeonholes our program, what they can do with it. So it's something we'll continue. The only other thing I'm going to say is I think this is a really important legislative commitment, because this is probably the first and probably a very long time last that we will have a House Speaker in our district. We need to take advantage of that. And I think that 1.6 million is something that could easily be swayed for his part of our area and building something that we need. So we have a good project. I think it's a valid project and it makes sense.
And I think it goes along with
Yeah.
work that you as a board has already committed to doing, and not just asking them to come in and do this for us, but looking at some of the things that are already being done in order to expand our opportunities at the technical college.
Yeah.
And so we're asking for a partnership in getting that done quicker as well.
So I like it. I think we're fine. It looks like then we're going to need to approve the first three that you have listed there. We have a special meeting that is set up for November 7th, which is our next board meeting, and it would be at 2 p.m. We need at least 3 here.
Can I make a recommendation?
You may.
You have a placeholder on tonight's meeting. If everyone is fine with the language to take the top 3, we could put it on tonight's meeting and adopt it. This way, they can begin to work on the proposal to get it to the Senate.
And we don't have to have a
If
special
everybody
meeting.
is okay with that.
Again, Superintendent Moore, if you are
I
good
think
with this?
between Mr. Sarah and I, we can definitely get it and put it in a way that's going to be
Yes.
presentable to
Everybody's fine.
Yes,
That's even
absolutely.
better.
It's
yet.
just
I
the
like-
language,
yeah.
not even
Yeah.
so much how pretty it looks.
Yes.
Yes, okay, so
Yeah,
we can do
if
that.
we can do that, that'd be great.
Yes, it'll save us time
Yeah,
and,
it's
it's
excellent.
effective,
Do it.
efficient. Very
Very
good. All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Mrs.
Thanks,
Sarah.
Bob.
I think we're good.
Appreciate the board. Thank you for the
Oh, thank you,
individual
Bob.
content.
Yep,
Thank you.
okay. All right, getting back to our agenda now, we are at Resources and Supports, 501, Strategic. Mr. Houlihan.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Chair, School Board Member, Superintendent Moore. I'm here today to present some information on our Strategics update, which falls under our Alyssa's Alert mobile panic alert system. So in accordance with Florida State Statute 1006.07, all Florida public schools, including charters, must implement a mobile panic alert system with the capable of connecting diverse emergency services technologies to ensure real-time coordination between multiple first responder agencies beginning in the 2021-2022 school year. On May 16th, 2023, district personnel did present to you the request to change from one vendor to the new vendor we were seeking out. So that was Strategics with the crisis alert system. With the consensus of the board, we are able to move forward with this. So this is more of an information of where we're at with the system today. So Strategics has worked great with Flagler Schools. We meet weekly Those are set calendar meetings that we have expanded all the way into November. So myself, communications, technology, plant services, including the charter schools, we do meet weekly about where we're at, some priority lists of what needs to be changed, what do we need to do, what does Centegix need to provide for us, and it's been going great. I cannot speak enough about the company itself. They did send out a trainer. They have trained all school-based administration, and it was more of a train-the-trainer platform, because then once their staff leaves Flagler County, our administrators are now able to train school-based personnel on how the system actually works at each of their school sites. If you don't remember, here's our badge. So we have over 1,500 of these badges sent out to all of our school personnel. We have actually requested 150 additional badges for personnel that may visit the campus regularly, but they're not actually part of the position control of the school. So they're actually on a school site. They may be coming and going, plant services. They may see something that we might have to lock down. So we've actually ordered over 150 more badges, and they are going to provide the school system with that. So installation is complete of all of our 9 public schools. Imagine they wanted to go ahead and move forward with Centegix as well. They could have stayed with the previous vendor, but they chose to move forward with Centegix because there's other Imagine schools in the state of Florida that actually utilize Centegix right now. So they thought it was best that they were
consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've been in conversations with us back and forth, so I've been with them and talking to them as well. As of yesterday, Centegix, they came back to our county yesterday. They actually did install, we realized they did not install some strobes at the youth center. So they were here yesterday doing installation of the youth center, and that wrapped up yesterday, and it was actually perfect timing with the teacher workday, so it was great. District staff, myself, Flagler County Sheriff's Office, we've been working with the PSAPs, which is the Public Safety Answering Points, on making sure that they are coordinating correctly, and we have real-time communication. Ms. Moore and I were at FADS a month ago, and there is some concerns that luckily we have one communication. There are some districts, larger districts, that have multiple PSAP, and they're not communicating effectively. So there have been conversations. Make sure that, and it's in rule that you're testing that as well. So we are making sure that we are testing our answering points with our schools. So moving on, just a reminder of Centegix. It's being used in a third of our Florida school districts. It empowers all staff members anywhere on campus, including about 300 feet outside of the school building. If you do go to our campuses, you'll see some solar power hubs and strobes, beacons that are maybe affixed to light poles. That is the Centegix system. Make sure that if they're in the parking lot, that they can, if they see something in the parking lot on our exterior property, including the stadiums at our high schools, the playgrounds, everywhere. There's a medical emergency. Our staff can notify our administrators, our responders on the campus that there's something going on. It does have precise location information. That is something that we brought up in our last presentation, that with the mobile app, if there is lack of cell phone service on the campus, we were not getting accurate, precise location information sent directly to our administration. And it's user friendly and it's app free.
So Tom, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So for the
You want to wait?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. So moving on with the system. As a reminder, there's 2 types of alerts. There's a staff alert, which is 3 clicks. It notifies responders and administrators on the campus. Each administrators on the campus has determined who they would like that to be. That may be the nurse, law enforcement, the dean, the administration, the principal, maybe the athletic director at our high schools, guidance counselors. So each administration has determined who the responders are going to be on the campus for our staff alerts. Those are something for a medical emergency, a physical disturbance, a behavior in the classroom where maybe it's not, we don't have enough time to go to the phone or pick up a radio and call administration. It's real time, it's 3 clicks, and they get the alert right away. The continuous click is a lockdown, so if we continue to click our badge, there's a continuous vibration, and the campus does go into the lockdown mode. If we scroll right back up really quick to the previous slide, one of the pictures right there it also has audio and visual cues on each of our campus. So each classroom has a strobe in the classroom. It has multiple colors: red, blue, green, yellow, white, purple. It does match our standard response protocol, our SRP. So red is a lockdown. So if we were to go into a lockdown on the campus, they're in the exterior parts of our buildings, interior parts of the buildings, hallways, classrooms, offices. There's also a desktop takeover feature where all staff computers will then immediately show. You can kind of see it right there. Their desktop will flash lockdown, and it'll go through what needs to happen during lockdown. You turn off your lights, roll down your blinds, get into your safe corner. And stay there until an all clear. So there is current data already because we have implemented this onto our campuses as training has been ongoing. This is actually one of our school sites. This is today. We do have a dashboard for one of our campuses. This specific campus had 4 staff alerts. 2 for behaviors, 2 for elopements, where a child may have eloped from the classroom. So the administrators, the responders will get the alert. They will go to where it's actually at, and then they have to close it out, and they actually have to close it for the reason. It also will determine the alerts by the week and time. So if we can maybe determine some sort of patterns of when stuff is actually occurring on our campuses. And moving on, so we are going to be sending this out to all of our faculty and staff just to remind them that we have moved forward with our Centegic system. It's need help. It's a 3-click alert. I need help, 3 clicks, and that's it. You stop from right there. There's no really need to move on and be like, you feel the vibration, you clicked it 3 times. Administrators, responders are on their way to whether it's a physical or medical emergency. We can respond to your real-time location in that event. Obviously, if you continue to click, you may have an inadvertent press, and you can put the campus into a lockdown, and it connects to our, even our road deputies will receive the alerts through 911, and the cavalry's coming until we call it off that it was a false press, and our sheriff's office personnel will have to actually clear it at that point. So I am free to answer any questions.
When you were talking about the precise location inside of the schools,
Yeah.
and you were talking about cell service, I know some of our schools forget it, there's no cell service. So the system that they've put up,
Yes.
does that provide connections so that
Yes.
somebody
it is.
responding would know where to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was something that we did look at. It does not require cell phone service, but if our phones require cell phone service, we get alerts on our apps with the exact location. So I may be connected to the Wi-Fi. Our campuses that we did realize there are some limited cell phone service. Ryan and his team has installed, or maybe a mobile pass point through T-Mobile and AT&T, where there actually is, it's almost like at your house for Wi-Fi calling. But you do not need cellular connectivity for this. We have our dashboard on our computers, and we have our dashboards on our phones. Centegic actually does have all of our blueprints where they integrated our maps into the campus. It also has, it will say, Tom Woolahan set it off in 216, and I go straight to 2216. Tom Woolahan set it off. Mr. Woolahan, what's going on? And it might be a medical emergency or some sort of behavior in the classroom.
Now, the sheriff's deputies will have that app on their phone?
They do, yeah.
So they'll be able to also identify the location?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. All of our school resource deputies actually just were provided agency-issued cell phones. So anything that they may have to use for apps, they actually have them on their phones as well.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Have we checked all the campuses where these have been installed to make sure there aren't any dead zones for communication?
Yes, so that is ongoing testing where our administrators and our school resource deputies are going out and testing. We have tested at several of our campuses right now and make sure that we do have connectivity at those sites. The great thing about this as well is we get a real-time badge health update. So if their batteries they last about 3 years, but if they for some reason they're dead or something like that, we do get an alert that we need to replace a badge on our campus.
Okay. And the badge, once the batteries die, you replace it with a new badge?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And do these serve any other function outside of notification for any other, like a digital ID or to unlock a door or something like that?
They do not. There are some things that the short answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah, that is more of access control. That's something that is down the road, and I think we've, if you see our campus right now, we are piloting something.
Right.
But yeah, that's something different.
Got it. And there's only 2 communications, 3 clicks and then multiple clicks,
Multiple
right?
clicks,
That's
yes. Yep.
it. Okay.
And that's it. So 3 clicks, you'll feel the vibration, and if it's a medical emergency or a fight or elopement on campus, and you need just staff to help out, it's a 3-click staff alert, and we're on our way. Multiple clicks, we'll put our campus into a lockdown, and the sheriff's office and other local agencies are on their way.
Are we using the terminology multiple clicks, or are we using like 4 or more? Because 3 is multiple.
So the number's 8, and all of our staff members have been trained that it's 8. We don't want to say it's 8. It's I'm clicking this because there is a real life emergency on our campus, active shooter, something that I'm going to be calling 911, and we're clicking, and then as the next person sees it or the next person hears something, then it will actually be real time, so it will track where it's going.
Does it sense the frequency of the clicks at all? Like in the sense that, like, if it's like 1, 2, 3, you're more conscious, but if it's an emergency, you're like hit
intensity.
Right.
So there is it doesn't track that, but if I stop after like 2 seconds and I want to hit 3 more times, it's not going to set it off in a lockdown. It literally has to be quick. So, but there is a continuous vibration. During our training, we have gone through badge training, where we put it in badge training mode, so they feel the different types of vibration. It's a quick vibration and a continuous vibration. And then obviously the lights and the strobes and the intercom will be a takeover.
Question, how are we handling substitutes?
So our substitutes we do have, our substitutes are issued badges as well. Our long-term substitutes, somebody that may be on campus, continuous, those are the ones that have priority right now. Obviously, it may be a Friday on a campus and there's 20 substitutes on our campus. We do have an average. We took the average of our substitutes on each of our campuses, of our highest average days, and we provided our campuses with those extra badges.
And one more question, when it goes into lockdown mode, there's no way to cancel that until somebody goes there to verify whether or not
and it will be law enforcement canceling that lockdown. It will not be school staff members going out and canceling that lockdown.
And that's my one question, to go off of that, just around prevention of errors. Something that I still find a little upsetting, and I don't think I was in this seat during the time, but was it Matanzas that like a testing happened and students thought there was like a lockdown happening?
So,
what am I remembering?
No, so what that was tied to,
Ms. Bozeman,
yeah.
Yes,
so that was Ms. Bozeman's, I think, first couple of weeks with Flagler Schools. We have a previous system. It's our intercom system, which also was integrated into our blue lights, which was our exterior only. It was also tied to a tone, an audible tone. So there was a calendar setting with a bell, so to speak, saying, hey, the bell needs to go off at this time. But the tone, which is also tied to our lockdown tone at the time, went off. And it was a quick, less than a second tone. We were on, the SRD knows the tone. Ms. Bozeman was like, hey, it's better to be,
Yeah.
cautious and put the
Yeah.
campus in a lockdown until the sheriff's office can clear it. But that was just a system error.
Yeah, so thank you. That's just my one piece is, and I think I've said this before, I'm big on prevention of errors versus correction of errors. And so knowing that we're dealing with humans and clicking, it's more just an ask, and I'm sure, Tommy, you're already doing this, but what does Centegix already know, because they've got this in a lot of schools, what, if anything, can we do around prevention of errors so that, I just think about our students and our staff and anxiety and, just making sure, you don't want people to go, oh, it's probably nothing, right? We don't want to go to that place. We want people to react, but we also don't want to cause students and staff like anxiety because someone's just not getting it. So it's not a question, I think, as much as just, that's probably my biggest piece, is doing everything we can to make sure that it is running as intended, nothing more, nothing less.
No, absolutely, and the Vice Chancellor did send out a memo that was requested to be sent to all principals at our schools, ensuring that in the with the new rule and your emergency drills, 4 of the 6 have to deal with lockdown, which is a reduction in drills, so to speak, but 4 of the 6 also, and we're going to practice, what it looks like, so our strobes can go off, our desktop can be taken over. The intercom will be going off, but we're actually not tied to. We're not going to put the stress on the students, and I think the reduction of the emergency drills was a big factor of that. But it's all about education as well. I think 98% of the clicks nationwide are staff alert, only 2% are actual lockdowns, whether they're inadvertent or not lockdowns. Maybe as staff members did see something that they felt the campus needed to be put in lockdown. And there's also other features. We can put the campus into a secure based off our SRP, which means there's law enforcement off campus, but it's close enough, whether it's Matanzas in the F section or the L section, and we need to put the campus into a secure, which is our old code yellow, which is basically a holding place.
Awesome. I'm thrilled that we've got this.
I think you're going to see it. A lot more districts move something towards this, so I'm glad we are at the forefront of this.
I love the precision of location. I think that's awesome.
And we can always test it out whenever you guys want to see it. I can show you how it works. We can have a staff member at a school site just set it off, and you see how it works and what district administration will see.
That would be neat.
So whenever you want.
Is that something that we can provide to parents? I mean, we're school board members. We do have two school board members who have students in on campus, but is that something that we can televise, like virtually, so that parents could tune in and see exactly how it works?
Yeah, I think that's something that Mr. Wheeler and I are going to be working on some sort
sorry,
of
that's it's your whole thing.
That's a communication piece that we are actually going to probably get some sort of video sent out. I do know FPC is working with their TV production team about how it looks, and that they're going to be producing some videos as well.
Yeah, and sorry, Chair Massar, you, I forget you still have a student, and so I guess 3, but awesome.
No,
Thank
absolutely.
You.
So this is a response to Alyssa's law, right?
Yes.
And the timing of this couldn't be better to make this announcement, because as you might be aware, some had toured recently the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas campus in Parkland. Myself and Superintendent Moore were there at separate times. I don't know if anybody else was able to do that, but walking through that scenario and seeing the path, the thought process of the shooter and the response is the time is everything, and having that notification every second makes a difference. So I'm just so glad that we have this now in place and functioning and operating as well.
Yeah, and that Centegix motto is every second matters. So it does. Seconds are lives.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. Are we good? Thank you, Tommy.
Thanks, Tommy.
Appreciate it. Okay. We are going now to Academic Services Information 6.02, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and Flagler School Enrollment Articulation Agreement amendments. Mr. Reed.
Chairman
Welcome.
Lucero, board members, Superintendent Moore. Before you today is a continuation of our conversations about our articulation agreements and our amendments that we're adding to them. In particular, this is to do with student privacy, which we talked about last time with regard to IB and ACE. And so before you is our amendment to the articulation agreement that we have on file to add the state student privacy agreements, as well as the cost sheet for the year. It's about $1,216 less than the previous one. That's because we're offering one less course for the coming year. So that's why there is the reduction for that.
I knew it had to be something simple.
Yeah, we went through that just the other day, Doreen and I did. This conference helped.
Any questions?
Any questions about Embry-Riddle?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are going to 8.0 Operational Services, Matanzas High School addition construction. Mr. Coates.
Good afternoon, Chairman Lucero, Board, Superintendent Moore. I'm here with Chuck Coates, the project manager for our Matanzas addition, and we are here to give you an update on the Matanzas addition. Next slide, please. This is a map showing the location of construction on campus. Most of the work has been done in Building 5, which is on the right-hand side, and we're going to have some slides. We just wanted to give you all some area so you'll know what we're talking about. And then you'll see Building 22 is over to the left, and up in the pink is Building 23, and Mr. Coates will go into some pictures and where we're at with that on the construction site.
Good afternoon, everybody. So this is pictures of Building 5. This was done probably about 2 months ago. So this is the underground utilities are complete. This is and the footings and foundations are complete. Continuing on to the next slide. This is Building 5 when the slab was being poured. On the top right, you'll see the slab was prepped and ready. On the bottom left, you'll see that pour was approximately 170 yards of concrete. That was all started at, I think, 4 in the morning. And it was done right around the 8:30 time frame. And fortunately, we didn't have no issues with buses. Everything went well. On the bottom right, you'll see the block work has began. It's actually almost to the top, and it'll be completed on November 1st. Those pictures, it's much higher than that at this point. Next slide, please. So Building 22 is our multi-purpose building. It's out towards the field house and towards the track athletic fields. The site work just began on that on October 1st. They put up temporary fencing. What you see there is well points that they're putting in the ground to dewater so they can install some sewer lines. And that's the building is scheduled to be delivered, I believe, December 4th. So they'll begin erecting that sometime in mid-December. Next slide. Building 23 is the central energy plant where our new chillers will be housed and ice tanks. Currently, I say the foundation and slab is complete. That is a little changed. They went ahead and went vertical with the building. The building's almost complete as far as the walls, and they're going to be pouring the slab, I believe, next week. So just because the block crew was on site, they decided to go ahead and knock that out. So everything is going good there. Next slide. On this slide here, you'll see myself and the construction class. The MHS construction class, we've got involved in this project. They have the set of blueprints, which I believe is 275 pages. They're doing monthly walkthroughs with us on the job site to follow along. They seem very anxious and eager each week we meet with them. So that has been going very well.
That's great.
And back one.
No, not yet. There you go.
Just want to share that to date, as of right now, that we have saved a little over $140,000 in owner direct purchase orders. So that's a tax savings. So
Yep, we need to keep doing that.
yes, ma'am.
Yep,
We're
we
going to
need
continue to do that as much as we can.
Yes.
And Carl from HA is here. We asked him to be here because they have been just a phenomenal organization to work with. and on this project, and doing very well, and pleasure to work with them in the construction. So
Great.
wanted to make sure they were here.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
We do have.
There's some pictures that Jason
there's a-
put together
yeah,
for
there's
us.
a little video of some more pictures that we had. So. Yes, it has. Yes,
Moving.
it is.
No, thank you both.
All righty.
The only thing, just real quick, that I'll say that I was thinking of during your presentation was, you know, how is this going for Principal Bozeman with, you know, having school? But when you brought up Carl, she was shaking her head with great enthusiasm that the relationship, you know, so obviously if there were any concerns, it sounds like you have a great relationship. And so that was the only thing that came up to me is how is school going with all of this going on?
Great question, yeah, and I can't say enough about Chuck, how responsive he's been, Plant Services, and AJ Construction, extremely professional. All of the contractors, vendors that have been out, they've been badged, they've been checked in, they're wearing their uniforms, they behave. They've also been really flexible with us. For example, last week we had PSAT, we know that that's a big day, so we actually asked the construction company, the superintendent on site, and Chuck, hey, could you not do anything noisy on site right next to the building from 8:30 to 11:30, and they did, so they worked, especially now, because now they're working out in the multipurpose building, and they're working in the central energy plant, so they've been extremely flexible, and really good with safety, really good with, you know, being accommodating to our students, especially with the construction classes. They're just
Excellent.
loving it.
Okay.
Can't say enough good things.
Good.
Good. Well done, everybody.
Thank you, that's great.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Thank you.
All right, going to 8.02, proportionate share agreement. Radiance Phase 1, 2, and 3, Mr. Whitson.
Good afternoon, Chairman Sarah, members of the board, and Superintendent Moore. I don't have any fancy videos or photos for you, but I have more development. This is a group that wants to do 3 phases. I would imagine there are more, but it's basically a 243 unit single-family development on the west side of Old Kings Highway, I guess over towards the interstate. There's a steeplechase, I believe, is the subdivision there. And so they're moving forward with that. It's for your review and consideration.
How many student generations are they?
It's in the agreement,
I'm trying
it
to
looks
find it.
like, yes ma'am,
240?
53 students,
53.
yes. 243 housing units.
Okay, and 53 students.
South Old Kings Road,
Yes ma'am.
like the north or the south?
It's towards the interstate side of it, which
Old
is
Kings
not
runs
all.
parallel, so.
Yeah, it runs,
Is it north or south?
Parallel.
Like Halifax
okay,
Plantation?
there's a map in the back.
South of 100 or north of 100?
The map
From the agreement, yes. Go the very, towards the end of the agreement, there's a map. Should be page 14,
Yeah.
13, 14, 15.
16.
It's kind of hard
I
to
can't
tell.
tell what that is.
There, okay.
It's across from Buell Plantation.
Okay,
so it's
got it,
south.
but yeah, okay.
I know the subdivision because I go down Old Kings
Wow,
Road and I know
cool.
that subdivision there, but it's the other side of that, I guess.
Got it. All right, moving right along we are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and I just heard about another huge development, but I'll be back.
Where's
Oh,
that?
Benel.
Okay.
See you next time.
Yeah.
We'll see you
2,800
again.
acres.
2,800.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
2,800.
Where's that gonna be?
Benel, somewhere down your way.
Benel's a big place.
I know, somewhere down your way. Okay. All right, now we're going to 10, superintendent information. Legislative platform,
We did that.
we don't, I'm gonna say, we do not need to go there. So we're at the attorney's contract review, 10.02. You will have in front of you 2 items. You'll have a copy of the current contract, and then you have the, is that the response to Schutzbowen, or just the contract?
The engagement.
That's just the contract. Okay, so the response.
I think we got it in our email
Yeah.
though, so
Yeah.
we'll pull it up there.
Probably needs to be added to the record.
Yes, it would
Yeah.
need to be added. We have a response from Schutzbowen.
Might be in this.
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay. The floor is open for conversation.
I was just gonna ask, I mean, we all came together to ask Mr. Furry to seek out legal counsel. So I was gonna ask you what you wanted to do for next steps, as far as, do you wanna provide a summary of the findings, or I don't know if you were comfortable doing that today?
Well, this was brought forward by both you and Ms. Chong, and we had consensus to move forward with this here. My role in this was tasked to go ahead and secure counsel to give us advice on the termination of our attorney's, Ms. Gavin's contract, and the scope of it was all focused around that, and it was also set up to afford board members to have the one-on-ones with the attorneys. Did everybody get a chance to do
Yeah.
that? Okay. So essentially now we have the data on termination, and they concluded that there were a few options that were available. One was mutual agreement, death or disability, voluntary resignation, or just cause. So there's a clarification of each one of those titles on what they felt applied to those areas, right? And so I'm making the assumption everybody read that's interested in that information. So from here forward, the information's gathered, so now next steps are, where do we go from here now with this information?
I was thinking possibly one of us could be nominated, because we can't all do it together, to sit down with Attorney Gavin and possibly have a conversation on what does this agreement look like as far as ending her contract.
Well, I mean, I will say, when I look at the summary that we were provided, they provided their recommendation that, based on, so I'll share with you my kind of interpretation, right? They provided their recommendation based on conversations that their interpretation of the contract was such that terminating the contract and then providing 12 weeks of pay, which is what, so if we were to terminate for cause, and we have a whole process from that potentially, where we would end up landing is paying out that 12 weeks, right? So what my understanding is they were suggesting was, if you want to just make it as clean as possible, you would terminate the contract and pay out the 12 weeks would be one path. Of course, we would reserve the right to terminate for cause and then go with that as well. But I guess I don't understand I would like to know what you were thinking in terms of the next step.
Towards the end of this, or was it the mutual agreement part?
Yeah, I would add that.
I think it was under mutual agreement.
Yeah, we'd have to decide if we were moving forward with termination, we have to decide what area we would go down, which would be mutual agreement through, some of them are obviously don't apply right now, a voluntary resignation or a just cause. So I guess it starts with, is there just cause? If there is, we've got to bring it forward and move down that road. If it is through mutual agreement, then we can have that conversation and negotiation. So that's kind of what I've gathered from what I've read here.
So what I'm looking at under mutual agreement A, the specific provisions of such mutual resolution will be subject to negotiations between the parties. So I was just thinking maybe one of us could have a sit down with her, or I don't know, or is that something we need to do publicly?
Or is it something that we can contract with this legal firm to even negotiate on behalf of, or is it something we need to do even at all?
Right.
Well,
I mean,
they seem, sorry, go ahead, Chair.
What I'm gonna say is, when I read the results of the Schutz agreement, quite frankly, I thought we threw $5,000 away, except for the one-on-one contact. I hope you got some answers, because I think that was most important. But anybody with any common sense, and you don't need to be a litigation expert, can read the contract and know what it says, because they just regurgitated everything that was there, in my mind. There was nothing special. And they didn't answer the questions that were provided. So it was an easy $5,000 in my mind. So that was problematic, because we had some specific questions that did not get responded to.
Well, did you ask them in your one-on-one?
No, because I asked certain questions, but I had given them other written questions that did not get answered.
Okay.
So I asked other questions that weren't in the written documentation. So that was problematic to me, number one. Number two, I'm still very concerned that we're even having this conversation. I find that this is inappropriate for the school board. I think that you are placing this district, or would be placing this district, and a brand-new superintendent in great liability situation. Because anybody in the new administrative office is new, brand new. We have a lot of things that have gone over in 17 years of the experience of the attorney that we currently have. The last thing you want is a new litigator who doesn't know anything about anything, who doesn't know the climate, who doesn't know the culture, and a brand new superintendent that needs to learn and be instructed and get the information. So it very much concerns me that you are willing to put this district at such peril. And I have a lot of questions. I mean, I'm not totally, I am totally against it, because I really worry about this district as a whole, and these students and these families and where we're going. And our staff rely on this attorney so much daily that she has to give information. I mean, we just went through a major problem and lost lots of money. And who spent all day trying to get all the necessary information? Our school board attorney. I mean, this is concerning to me. That's why I'm very concerned that you're having this conversation as it's a done deal. It's not a done deal. We need to look at everything we have. We have to consider our district and the fact we're going to have a brand new, tonight, I hope, a brand new superintendent. Who in that office has more experience with NEFAC? Who knows how to use board docs as adequately as our current attorney? Nobody. Nobody. And you just don't walk in and say, oh, I can do this and do this and do this. They can't. They can't. Talk to the staff in there. They don't know how to do the things that she knows how to do in board docs. Just because this attorney has been with us 17 years, there have been an awful lot of school board members go through. I understand why she doesn't have the same relationship with the three of you that she has with us. We've known her for 17 years. You tell me one person you met and another person you've known for 17 years and you have an excellent relationship. You have to build it. You have to build it. And so that very much concerns me that you're thinking like that. It's one thing to terminate a superintendent that was only here for 3 years. It's another thing to terminate an employee that's been here 17 years. And if we don't do it, if you proceed down this road, you better have darn well true proof, solid rock proof that you have just cause, and there's no telling if you don't, because it's gonna cost us way more than paying out her entire contract.
Well,
You
paying
are
out
gonna-
her entire contract is not something that would have to be done.
No, wait,
based
I'm
on-
not done.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I'm not done. I mean, it could be. You're talking about,
Civil court.
yes, they will, I mean, wrongful discharge, we will then be in,
Breach of contract.
breach of contract. We'll be in breach, we are in breach of contract. Okay? So there's lots of things we already have against us. So, I mean, you've got to look at the big picture here. I believe this attorney's contract expires in, what, 2 years, year and a half, 2 years?
Year and a half.
Right. With our superintendent, it was it expired. It expired. Okay? And so that was it. He couldn't come back and get us. This is putting this district in severe situation, because it will come back and get us.
I disagree.
Well, I'm not, I don't care if you disagree or not. It will put us in a severe, it's real.
Chairman Sarno, this is very doomsday.
It's very real.
view,
No, it's not.
and
No, it's not.
You,
It's
you had a
very real.
similar view when we made a change in the superintendent, and we're just fine.
I told you, yeah, because you took somebody, there's people in here that could be superintendent. You had an assistant superintendent. Who can be assistant attorney?
Well,
Who can move
The-
into that
listen,
role?
What I
here
think
that
would-
knows
Somebody
this
else
district?
like talk, the concern here, she works for us as a board, okay? And for myself personally, I don't feel protected and like she is somebody that I could go to. And, you know, we represent our schools in the county. And that's serious. You need to be able to trust your attorney. And we've had a year of working together and this is where we've landed. It's unfortunate. I don't like it, but this is where we are.
And I think the superintendent would be better served by having a separate district attorney and us having our own attorney. I actually think that this model that we've had for a long time, whether, you know, it's just the one that's been there, right? And I don't know if previous boards have evaluated it on its efficiency, and but I don't see this model as a good one going forward anyways. And at some point we'll have to deal with that, with a change at some point. So there's always a transition of anything, and you deal with it at some point, right? So it really, whether it happens now or later, you're always going to have a transition of when you have change. But it's going to just ultimately come to what the will of the board is at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I mean, to that point, and this is gonna probably have to be a situation where we agree to disagree, which is the whole point of a board, right? So there's 5 individual board members, each with their own vote. And so as far as where my mind is, if no one else does, I would like to make a motion this evening to accept the recommendation of the law firm that we hired. I believe the language reads something like a termination, that we would offer a 12 weeks of compensation of just straight salary, so long as an agreement was signed. I don't know the exact language, but it's an agreement that would be signed that would say that the district would not be sued. I will share in my one-on-one, I did receive confirmation that some of my concerns did fall under, would fall under termination for cause.
You have to spell that.
You have to spell it out. You cannot,
Okay.
you can't keep it a
So
secret.
that's fine. I will give one example. I did share, I think it's pretty well known, there was a whole thing about Paul Peacock at Wadsworth. I shared with the attorneys how the public records request was handled. The fact that my full text messages, including personal text messages from our 2 personal cell phones, which I provided to Attorney Gavin for her to then, my communication with Attorney Gavin was, yes, I will give you everything with the expectation that only those text messages that fall under public records requests would be shared. And what was shared was literally everything. And I think when Ms. Chong speaks to trust, that is at the heart of the conversation here, where during that really difficult time period, I didn't even trust Attorney Gavin to even go out to seek her counsel on how to handle that. I tried to find outside counsel on that, but in the moments I did discuss that with her, again, more was disclosed than needed to be. My understanding of the essence of this role is to be the board attorney, to do what is in the best interest of the board. We all are the board. I have not seen that as what is taking place, and I will share this also. Chair Massaro, in response to what you were discussing about relationships, when I kind of did some research about this situation, I did come across an article from when the contract was up for renewal, and former Chair Tucker brought up that there were trust issues with the board, with some members of the board.
Correct.
So I can appreciate the fact that the established board members, or the established members who have been a part of the district, have this great relationship. I think we have a pattern, though, of new board members coming in who are duly elected, who absolutely, probably more than anybody, really need that attorney's counsel. And it cannot be a situation where we have 10 years to form that. So it's not just 3 board members. If you look back at the previous board, it's maybe another 2 board members,
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
I don't think this is out of left field. And as far as next steps, you have 3 board members here, if you want to kind of divide this 3-2, but who absolutely, I think time and time again, are showing we deeply care about this district, whether it's a temporary counsel, a temporary law firm. I'm going to speak for myself. I would not make any decision or cast any vote that I feel like truly hurts this district. Everything that I decide, vote on, speak about, it is what, as one voting member, I feel like helps us move Flagler forward. So we can disagree on different things, and I think that's totally fair. But I have given this a lot of thought, and I'm going to echo everything Christy said. It has been very difficult. This relationship, for lack of better words, relationship, it was so critical for me as a new board member, and it was so wrong in so many ways, and it just can't continue.
And I hear you.
Can I give one example?
Yes, please do.
Our attorney spoke to Flagler Live and reported you confided in her about a possible selling of your home, and that got blasted throughout Flagler County. That is so inappropriate. And how would you like it if it was you? How would you like it if something like that was being broadcasted? I find that to be so inappropriate. I work for a large company, a healthcare system that is nationwide, and you are told you are not to be speaking to the media. And everybody in Flagler schools who works for our schools should know that. You should not be making comments to the media. I just feel like that's a given, and I don't know how we can build trust in those kinds of situations.
But nobody has said anything about just cause. Everything
I'm
that
still
you
waiting.
described
Well,
does not
Give us just cause.
quantify as
Well,
just
just
You don't have
cause,
to have
you
it.
don't,
Yes, you
well,
do.
No.
well, okay, let me, I'll read how I interpret this here, is that you can bring cause. It doesn't say for, it says can be terminated for cause. Just cause, if we disagree, if the attorney disagrees that that is not just cause. She has remedies.
Oh, yeah.
And the remedies are that she can go to the divisions of administrative hearings, and it will be heard by an administrative law judge who will decide if it is just cause. And if it is just cause, then the attorney would be terminated and it would just be a clean break. But if it was determined that the cause was not just cause, then the amount that would be due would be 12 weeks of the base salary without benefits. Just that there, along with some other things here as well. So that the attorneys are saying that the maximum exposure, and there's some state statute that ties into this.
That's not the only thing they're saying, though.
No, it's not.
So, keep going. I'm sorry, Will, but
well, that's essentially what I'm taking away from what was written here.
Yeah, and there's
Is
more there, then that's why they didn't answer all the questions.
can I?
Dr. Conklin.
So if, first of all, I'm just gonna start at the beginning. Looking at the term of the contract, I do think it's important to keep in mind 1.5 years for Christy to go to full retirement, and I'm gonna go back to that. Her contract is over in 2025 in June, and at that point in time, she would be eligible for full retirement. And like I said, I'll come back to that. If you go to the second page where it says potential termination of agreement.
Of which of the response of the
page 2.
attorney, or
Page 2.
Page 2.
No, it's, I don't
Page
even,
2,
you
item
don't have
3.
this document in there.
No, this is what they sent us. This is
Yeah, I know,
the
he's
Schutz
trying to
report.
find it.
Schutz?
It's not on. you
He's
don't
trying
have
to
it.
find it.
No, but no, I have it up here.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
from-
but
I'm just
he's
saying, is it
trying to
from
Yes.
Schutz?
Yes,
Okay.
it's their response.
So page 2, section 3, potential termination of agreement. If the school board attempts to terminate the employment agreement by any other method, it could potentially face a breach of contract claim from Ms. Gavin. That is done in civil court. That is not DOA. So if we breach the contract, meaning we terminate with no cause, the contract is breached, and then Ms. Gavin has a vehicle through the civil courts to sue us. I
But
mean,
if we bring cause,
If-
and we've just heard from.
But that's
two
not-
That's
board-
not, that's just hearsay.
But it is.
It's not even
It is
hearsay.
cause.
It's not
No,
cause.
it's not cause.
Just cause, the way the contract
But you
reads,
can-
the
Okay,
administrative law
let
judge
me
would
just
determine
finish.
It's
what
not cause.
No,
the
let me just finish.
cause would be.
No. So again, third section, it's clear as day. You terminate Mrs. Gavin's contract. It's a breach of contract. One of the ways you could get through this, and what he's trying to say, is mutual agreement. And if there is obviously no way out of this, I would agree with Christy that there's a conversation about coming to some kind of mutual terms. The other is death or extended disability. Obviously, that's not gonna, has nothing to do with it. Voluntary resignation, I don't think that's gonna happen. And then you get to just cause. The first is a dereliction of duty. You can't just say just cause. What was just shared is a personal opinion. It's not a break in public records request. Public records, hold on. If you look at the law of public records, it's very, very, very clear. The Public Records Act is to be liberally construed in favor of open government, and exemptions from disclosure are to be narrowly construed so they are limited to their stated purpose. So you can exempt things from
Dr.
public
Conklin,
record.
I'm just gonna say something real quick, okay?
That's-
Because I
sure.
want you to know what's been in my shoes.
Sure.
Okay? So Christy chooses to include my text to Paul Peacock that said, "Did you butt dial me?"
So what?
So let me
She's a nurse.
finish. Let me finish.
She's a
Then
nurse.
I have a woman in board chambers yelling at my husband, and I don't want to get out of control here, but I want you to understand what it's been like in our shoes.
Christy, do you, I mean, Sally,
Listen.
do you think you're the only person that
No,
has come
ma'am.
under attack?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. And that's not what
I
this is
mean-
about. What this is about is, I then have someone yelling at me that I am having extramarital affairs with Paul Peacock because it is then suggested that I am overly friendly. The point being, and you guys, I don't want to have to have this
I know
conversation.
you got hassles, I know you
I
do.
don't want to have this conversation, but you need to understand what it's like in these shoes over here. When I go to Attorney Gavin to have a conversation, and I have the chair ask, who specifically told you that? Then, even though I'm having a private privileged conversation, then it is disclosed to the chair, who then goes to the media and just, right? And then again, it's inflammatory. It is, I believe, under the misconduct definition, I have multiple reasons for cause. And if you want me to make a list.
Yes, you have to.
You have to make a list.
Publicly
It has to
state
be
what the
publicly
just
listed.
cause is.
You have to
Yeah,
have
that's
just
the route we
cause.
take.
Well, she has to bring cause. It says here that the chair will have to deliver a letter of termination with the cause that is in there. And it clearly says here that it doesn't, even in Schutz's response, it says that it's vague and ambiguous, the term, I believe it was dereliction of duty, it was very vague. But
It's not vague.
there's no specifics, it doesn't say that there is any specifically tied to that word.
Can I finish?
Here it goes, it's right here.
Just hold on a second.
I finished.
So you look at dereliction of duty, and then after dereliction of duty, you gotta look at her job description. And then go down her job description to see exactly all of those roles and responsibility. Was she derelict in those duties to fulfill those job responsibilities?
But we cannot make
Hold
that
on, let me
determination.
just
It's
finish.
the administrative law judge.
Let her
No,
finish.
no, it's not the administrative law judge unless it goes that way, okay? So hold on. You go through the job description, there's nothing in there that identifies that there's a dereliction of duty. If you're gonna claim there's a dereliction of duty, we have to be specific, and it has to be publicly stated in order to have just cause. You can't just do that. In addition to that, let me just finish and then you guys can talk. Because what I don't wanna see is us end up in a larger lawsuit that's gonna cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. When you look at the overall total raw score rating, which equates to an overall rating in the lower end range of effective. So her board evaluation is overall effective.
Yeah.
Failure to work, failure to report to work. She doesn't, that's not. Misconduct in office. Again, if you're going to claim misconduct in office, you have to be very clear in how you do that. Providing public records. Look, I had a year of my text messages between Kathy Middlestat, and I had to give them over. There were things in there I didn't want anybody to see. There were things that I got backlash on, people yelling and that's part of the job. It is part of the job.
And you know what? And Flagler Live is gonna make it about, that I'm making it about myself. What I find disgusting is that you have 2, possibly 3 former board members who had a challenge with the attorney. You now have 3 board members who are very upset, who are finding, in my opinion, just cause, or are just not, whether it's possibly leading a reporter to the superintendent's suite, whether it's breaking confidence, whether it's her own contract has like errors in it, whether it is conversations that have been shared with me since I was elected by community members that I cannot believe things that were said. Here's what I am trying to say, and I think Will has continued to say this. In my opinion, and we can agree to disagree on what is just cause and what isn't. Nobody here is an attorney. That's why we sought out legal advice. I believe, as one board member, that I am able to terminate or bring a motion forward to terminate based on the language of the contract. I believe I have grounds to bring it forward. Because of the way the contract is written, we can go a couple of different ways. If there are at least 3 board members who, if we have consensus on that motion.
Are you wanting to go for cause or without cause?
You need a reason.
It is,
You have to have
it is,
cause.
Christy, here's my understanding of it. My understanding of it is that we would be terminating for cause, even if it is a pattern of mistrust or whatever it is. that we,
Have that
that
factual.
we have,
Factual.
okay.
I would just like to go about this as peacefully.
Yes.
So that,
So
let
can
me
I
propose
just
this.
finish?
Let me propose something. Will,
I'll be quiet.
Ms. Gavin, will you consider a mutual agreement of termination?
That's
and-
inappropriate
and a
at this
nego-
time.
No, it's not
We are
inappropriate.
having a discussion
That is
here,
one
Ms.
of the-
Gavin, it's not part
Chairman
of the
Sorrow,
conversation.
that is one
I'm
of the
sorry,
remedies.
Mr. Fury, you are out of line.
This is where we
That
have to
Let
have the
Ms. Conklin
conversation.
finish her statement. You're out of line, Mr. Fury.
I am not out of line.
You are out of line. Go
Okay.
right ahead.
Listen, all I'm trying to do is go through this document to see, I understand we have 3 board members that don't feel comfortable right now with the board attorney. That is obviously a problem. But we also have someone who has a tremendous amount of knowledge and institutional history, historical knowledge with the district. And we have a brand-new superintendent. So yes, I am very concerned about losing right now as we're in the middle of IEPs, suits, all sorts of things. But just to go on, again, dereliction of duty or misconduct in office. The other is a violation of a criminal law. That has to be like she's been arrested. That's not there. If we terminate for cause, Christy can go to a DOA hearing, right? And in that DOA hearing, the administrative law judge can decide per her contract to give her 12 weeks of paid leave. Everything that you said in regards to that is spot on. What you were saying about if the board takes the notion to terminate her and give her 12 weeks, you have to terminate for a reason, and it has to be clearly identified. We can't just terminate, because then what will happen is the breach of contract goes into place. And now we're looking at civil court. She doesn't have to.
Me.
Okay.
I think it would be
But
beneficial.
going back to what I was just saying, which I said that I was out of line to bring up, is that would be mutual termination. That's what that conversation, that is a remedy in this contract, Chair.
You can have that conversation,
Yeah.
not at this moment. If we bring Ms.
I'm
Gavin to the
asking-
table,
are
we
you-
can have that conversation.
Well, can you
Would
please
like
call
that?
Ms. Gavin?
Can I finish?
I thought you was done.
No. So for God's sakes. So I just want to make sure we all understand that DOA process that they're talking about. Obviously, Will, like you had mentioned, Mr. Fury, you had mentioned the process with the letter and whatnot. Again, if you make a motion, just say you make a motion this evening, and obviously the world knows how the 3 of you are going to vote, right? You make a motion this evening, Chrissy is immediately terminated. I want you to just consider all of the legal things that we are in the middle of right now, that we would literally have to drop somebody brand new into those seats to take care of. I would recommend that everybody take a deep breath and we look at some sort of a mutual agreement where there is time to get whoever we're going to look at to bring in, so that there is time that they are together working. And even if you do that, I believe the only way to get through this without ending up in a civil suit is mutual agreement. Because we don't,
I agree with that.
everything that has been identified, I understand you may not like, and it may have made, an article in the newspaper, but that is not just cause. And so if we're gonna go down that road, we just have to be careful. And the attorney even says, the best option, the mutual agreeable separation agreement, including a general release of claims, would appear to be the best option available to expeditiously resolve this matter and limit the district's financial exposure. He also says the employment agreement itself seems, attorneys don't just use the word seems for any other reason, seems to state that the maximum of pay would be 12 weeks. That's if you go to a DOA hearing. She doesn't have to go to a DOA hearing. She could go to civil court. If she ends up in civil court, the remainder of her contract is like $236,000. You've got the retirement benefit of $7,000. You've got her benefits, retirement, and her leave. And because she would not be retiring with full benefits, then we're looking at what she would have gotten if she got to retire at full benefits. So I am just saying that everybody just needs to, no, let me rephrase that. I would hope that all of us would just take a deep breath and consider what is the best way forward. One, so that someone who can step into those shoes, understand everything that we are in the middle of right now, in addition to training or sharing information or bringing up to speed or whatever it might be. But the bigger question is, from what you all have said so far, I'm not hearing just cause.
There is, sorry.
No, it's okay.
There is language in there at the summary of if we go without cause. But I am with you. If you would let me, I don't mind bringing a motion for a mutual agreement. And I'm okay with, some time to work things out and, yeah.
Well, I started that conversation even before I sent this letter. I was hoping that we might be able to get to that point before, but the way that conversation went, there was no way to go with that because it involved moving into a position that doesn't exist at the moment. So that was, so we just had to leave it. I had to leave it there, right? So so mutual agreement is always the best way out of anything, but it takes two sides that are willing to have that conversation. And if there's not a willingness on one side, you can't go down a mutual
we don't know that
agreement.
yet.
So, well, I know, and that's what I'm hoping that we could have a conversation about now to see if that is something that the attorney is willing to consider. A mutual termination, and we can set certain terms and timelines and things like that. That's always the better way to do things.
Oh, absolutely.
But if there isn't a willingness, then a board member will have to can take action as they see fit and bring it to a vote, and then we have to see where that goes, right?
I'm not disagreeing with you there. What I caution us on, all of us, is the financial impacts that we're looking at. That is the biggest thing right now that concerns me, besides the drop of all of the current litigation that's going on. You get your quarterly reports. Your quarterly reports tell you everything you need to know about what's going on with litigation. If you don't understand them, you go and you talk and you get figures of what's happening. When I reviewed, I really went through and took a deep dive in all of our evaluations. Some of the evaluations that, she was already rated effective, but I went and looked at the ones. That's what I was looking at, because somebody has worked at a job for 17 years and people are given ones. That's a problem. So I looked at them. And some of them are relatively simple, and I'm not going to name names, but the idea is, things were at consensus at a meeting, yet it didn't make the agenda. School board attorney doesn't do the agenda. Superintendent does the agenda. That's a simple, but it's a 1. So that hurts severely. And about not being updated on federal and legislative laws and rules. That's in your quarterly reports. If you read your quarterly reports, which she has done for many years, you understand what's going on. And if you don't, ask. You call and you ask, I don't understand what this is. Because a lot of the stuff she cannot give us information on. Unless it's one-on-one, she can. But not as a group, she can't. She can't comment on a lot of things. And if you don't if you're asking about what can be done and what can't be done, and she gives you information, and it's not the information you want to hear, unfortunately, it's probably what the law is making her do. Not because, it'd be nice if we could all do what we want to do. We can't. There are certain things you cannot do unless, add an item to the agenda. You need a supermajority to do that, if it wasn't on the agenda to begin with. So there are things that are legally, you have to be responsible. We've been very fortunate in this district to have an individual, I'm not saying she's perfect, and you'll see my evaluation. It doesn't say she's perfect, but she saved this district for a very long time, not only in cases, but a lot of financial money. And that's where it comes down to. So do we want to proceed, because we can go into that too, we talked about it before, having a staff attorney and a school board attorney. We've talked about that, and that's the option that you were just referring to. We can do that, but to do that, then you're going to have, and that avoids legal ramifications, which is saving us a lot of money, no doubt about it. That would help. But it's costing us too, because we're gonna have to go out there and hire a school board firm that's gonna handle all the different aspects that our current attorney already handles. Okay, educational IEPs, construction, as you just saw, real estate. Every one of those are separate bills that you get hourly based on. And that's what gets a lot of municipalities especially in trouble. So your $300 expense for that year now gets $600 plus your internal, your other attorney. So, I mean, these are things that you have to consider financially. What's gonna save the district, both litigation-wise and finance-wise? That's what we have to consider.
And listen, I would say this, there are times Christy and I have not seen eye to eye over the years, for sure. And yes, we have the luxury of having that long-term relationship, so you work through those kinks. But it hasn't always been, I think you all perceive this relationship as one we have and that you don't have. And all I would say to you is, being new, give it some time. I mean, even if we work out a mutual agreement, give it some time to work with her.
Well, it's been a year.
Well, but
Yeah,
hold
but-
on, but wait, you know,
Be specific.
just,
What has
Sally
she
brought
done?
up something I thought was important, talking about the previous board. You have to remember, there were board members that put the superintendent and the attorney in very precarious positions, especially when one was trying to get the superintendent arrested over a book. That created a very sour relationship with board members. It just did. And if you're talking to people in the community, you have to understand there are gonna be folks that do not like Christy because of her stance on impact fees, because of her stance on reservation fees. Those people are gonna be out there because she has been fighting in the best interest of the district. I agree that we're gonna have to do something, in the sense that if you don't have trust in your attorney, that's super important. But I would just hope that every relationship is not perfect, and it takes time to build those relationships. And all I'm saying is, looking at the results of the outside attorney, looking at Christy's contract, looking at her evaluations, I think we put ourselves in a very precarious situation if we look at just making a motion and voting to get rid of her. I would say that that would be the worst case scenario, financially for us, and also organizationally for us. So I understand what you're saying, I hear what you're saying. I would just hope that you would give all the rest of that some additional consideration, that's all.
There's something that I have not shared yet, because I think it puts our district in a liability state, but I want to share what it has been like, my experience working with Attorney Gavin. Because I think what I keep hearing is that this is maybe a personality thing, or hurt feelings, or whatever. Here is an example as well, if you are wanting examples.
We have to have them.
After I met with two of my liaison principals, both of them separately, without prompts, shared with me they were having a difficult time hiring teachers because of the 10-year cap on bringing in years of experience with the pay scale, okay?
Yeah.
I knew, and this, if you remember when we first were elected, this would have been only, I think, within a few months.
Yes, yeah.
Right? That we were still in the open book with the teachers' union contract. I asked to meet with Attorney Gavin, because she was the only person I could think to go to say, I've heard from two of our principals, and let me quickly say, I didn't realize at that time that that had already been negotiated to remove that cap, okay? So I didn't realize that at the time. I scheduled an appointment with Attorney Gavin to say, do we still have time if this is a challenge for our principals, do we still have time to address that with the current contract? I don't know that I got an answer to that. What instead I got was a story of an older, inept teacher who couldn't figure out how to hook up media equipment, and that we really shouldn't want older teachers because they're out of touch with technology. That was the legal guidance. That was what I was provided with. So as I sit here today as one of 5 board members, just as I did with Superintendent Middlestat, I am taking from multiple observations, conversations. It is not just a public records request. It is not just disclosing information from a privileged conversation. It is not just inappropriate guidance. It is all around a situation where I, as one of 5 board members, Dr. Conklin, if we were to read the definition of misconduct, essentially it states, is the employee, is the attorney acting in a way that is reasonable, that their employer would want them to act, right? And for just me, I have so many examples where I feel like whether it is the media or personal, her personal opinion on something, trumps me as a board member. And what concerns me as well is when you use words like, Christy and I don't always see eye to eye. Just so that we're on the same page. When I think about what I would want from legal counsel in this capacity, I think we have all, I would hope, have had conversations with Andrea Messina.
Yeah.
Okay? Andrea Messina is perfection. I find her to be perfection. So she's like the bar up here. And in my first conversations with Andrea, she said, I want you to know I'm here to give guidance. Just so you know, it's never about whether I agree with you or disagree with you on what you're trying to do, but I am here to give you guidance, to support you as a board member on what you are trying to accomplish or what your goals are, right? And she just supports you. Yeah. That is my expectation for legal counsel, is someone who is just, this is what I, Sally Hunt, one duly elected board member, this is what I would like to do. And that I just get that guidance, not as someone who is, has their own opinion, but to support me as one of 5 of the board. That, for me, has not and does not exist. So I hear everything being said, of financials, transition, change is difficult, and I understand that. This is so important to me. I think it is so necessary that there's really just not anything at this point that is going to change my mind. I'm just being perfectly honest. And if I look at the summary from the law firm, I think it reads perfectly clear what their recommendation is. I found it to be clear, and that it would be my path forward is to go off of their recommendation.
Well, I appreciate all of that, and what I will tell you is it says right in here about the potential of termination of the agreement. And he says at the very end, when he is talking about trying to work out some mutual separation, to limit the district's financial exposure. That's not 12 weeks of base pay. No, that's not 12 weeks
I
of base pay.
think that there is consensus. I'm hearing consensus, even though I am not in agreement with the consensus, I hear consensus that there is a willingness to have a conversation, whether that is in sunshine, today or tonight, around mutual agreement. as Mr. Furry stated, it is not my understanding that there is mutual agreement for anything other than continued employment with Flagler Schools, which I am not supportive of in any capacity.
We understand that,
So-
but none of us have had that conversation with Christy, none of us.
But so what does that, I'm curious, what does this actually look like in terms
So-
of next steps?
To me, my motion would be to nominate someone to have that conversation, probably Will.
Well, here's a possibility, right? What if we decided now, we were gonna have I believe a special meeting scheduled for 2
November
o'clock,
7th.
for something different, we
I thought that was for
pulled that back.
legislative platforms.
We
We're
just
not
canceled
doing
that.
it.
We canceled that,
We
right?
canceled it.
Exactly, so what if we go ahead and put that back on?
I'd really rather not. I'm taking my dad's ashes to Ireland, so I won't be here for that.
Yeah, so the rest of us.
Okay, so,
Well,
well,
no,
at a
no.
date that we can agree on.
Right.
Okay, I just used that date because that was the
No, I
wrong
know,
date.
I
Yeah, so I
understand.
totally understand. And, is that if, Attorney Gavin would come forward and say that she's willing to try and work out a mutual agreement between now and a date certain that we can agree upon, that we would have those negotiations, and then, but then if we can't conclude or come to an agreement by that time, then we would be at a business meeting where if a board member wanted to bring a motion, they could, but that would allow time to have more conversation and negotiation, right, for a mutual termination. And, but again, the only way that I would say I'm in favor of that is if the attorney is willing to say that I'm willing to start a mutual termination conversation, that she's willing to have that. If she is, then great, let's move forward. But if we can't come to terms by that date, then what will happen will happen.
So here's just a couple of more things to think about. I think somebody should, and whether it's Will or the chair, it doesn't matter. I think it's more appropriate if it's the chair, but whatever. If at a future meeting it is brought up to, and this is the only thing that I would ask for, if at a future meeting it is brought up to terminate for cause, that it is clearly spelled out at that time, because we are going to put ourselves in a very, very difficult financial situation.
I believe that I'm with you that whatever the cause is should be spelled out and written out so that we can articulate that, and ultimately, if it is decided that there is a termination, that can be drafted into a letter that ultimately needs to be delivered by the chair to the attorney. So we need to have something
In writing.
It has to either fall under dereliction of duty, failure to report to work, misconduct in office,
And there's definitions.
violation of criminal law, and the definitions are all
in there.
Well, however, because again, we're not attorneys, so we can't decipher what is and what isn't, but you can categorize it in the way that you see it, based on the information you have, if one is bringing cause forward. After that, you're right, it either goes to the administrative law judge, if that is the challenge that the attorney decides to go down. And, in
Or it
this
goes
world,
to civil court.
people can sue for any reason, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what the contract says, you can still file a lawsuit, right? And so that's always a possibility, right? I would prefer that we come to mutual terms here. So that's why I'm putting this out there to say, hey, let's try and work something out so that everybody can be happy here in the end, or as happy as we can be with it, and then go from there.
So, do we need to motion that tonight, or are we deciding this now?
I would like
first-
to ask that we have a placeholder then on the November business meeting, the same placeholder,
Well,
and that if we do not have a mutual agreement I'm fine to go on with the mutual agreement. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure there is a date that this is being done by.
the only reason why I say not the November business meeting, because that's not until the 28th.
Okay.
So if we, tie this in, it would actually be sooner than that. It would really depend upon Dr. Conklin's schedule, but that would be the period of time that we would have to negotiate with the attorney on a mutual termination. At whatever date that is, that will be scheduled as a business meeting so that an action can be taken at that specific meeting if one would like to bring it. Does that make sense?
Can I, you know,
So that could be in a week from now. I'm just saying that meeting.
I'm open to whatever
How
that's.
could we do that?
If it's this afternoon.
Have a special meeting or something?
Whatever it is.
Special meeting, because otherwise we're opening it up for an emotion tonight, and if somebody brings it, we're gonna have to respond to it as a board, right?
Yeah.
It's already on the agenda. So all I'm saying is that if we are seeking mutual termination as the preferred way by putting out a special meeting at a date certain, and that would give time to work out that conversation. Otherwise, that would have to happen now. I don't think that's realistic, right? That we would hash out terms here at this table tonight. So that's my suggestion.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble following.
Okay, so right now we have the school board attorney's contract on the agenda for this evening's business meeting, right?
Correct.
Which one could bring a motion or just have a conversation, just see what happens. But if we are truly trying to move forward with a mutual termination, right, where we negotiate terms that both sides can be happy and we can part ways, that has to be a conversation that has to be had that I don't think can really happen between now and tonight, right? So, but if we set a special meeting out, that would be the window of time that we would ask the attorney and us come to terms on a mutual agreement, and if not, we would discuss that at that special meeting, right? And on the course forward, whether somebody wants to bring a motion, whether we want to continue with the contract and leave it alone, I mean, that would just give the opportunity for somebody to.
Why can't we do that at the November business meeting?
Well, the November business meeting, are we doing all of our reorganization and everything going on?
There's no,
Yeah, that's
28th
no
is
big
the
deal.
next
Wait,
meeting.
so-
Well, I don't think, I think we want this, I think most people want this resolved sooner than later, so I don't know that we need to put it out all the way till November 28th to do this,
But, so you're saying all 5 of us having this conversation as opposed to one person working out details?
No, okay, I'll back up. So, as you mentioned, you'd like to appoint somebody, because you'd like to appoint somebody to try and negotiate a mutual termination agreement with the school board attorney, right? If we want to do that, right, if we can't come to terms, right, and somebody still wants to make a motion, it has to be at a business meeting, and our next meeting is a workshop come the beginning of November. So if you wanted to take action or bring a motion, which I'm only saying this because there's been talk about bringing a motion tonight, right? So I'm saying a date certain out, scheduled, between now and Sunday forward that we all agree on. We come to terms, one person, or however we decide, negotiates with the attorney and comes to a mutual agreement. If we can't come to a mutual termination, then we would meet again at the business meeting and discuss this again, and it would be decided how we want to move forward. There's no predetermined outcome here, other than a mutual termination by that meeting. And if it doesn't happen, then the board has to decide how it wants to move forward from that point forward.
So my understanding of what you were saying, because I've heard a couple of different things, so forgive me. So we would, at this workshop, designate somebody, a board member, to schedule that meeting. I don't know whether that needs to be in sunshine or not, but we would then, by the next workshop, if you are the one designated, you would come back and report your, whether there was success or not, and what that looks like. We would then discuss it. Do we then put something on the books today of a special meeting? Because I agree,
Yes.
it is October 18th.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about almost the full rest of the month of October and then the full month of November.
I'm not saying
a month
anything,
and a
I'm
half.
saying a date that we all agree on. It doesn't.
What is the rush? There's a lot going on.
You know,
Seriously.
There is a lot.
You know,
there's a
but
lot we're in the
when are
middle
we
of.
not, there's always litigation going on with the school,
No.
always, right?
When
And
did
so
we lose
at any given
$719,000?
time, that's not a reason, just because we have stuff going on.
Oh my gosh.
We always have stuff going on.
You know what, I honestly think that this conversation right now is a part of that mutual agreement conversation.
I
So,
agree.
so
I
I would ask that, that we, again, as Will has already been our point person so far, I would ask to see if there's consensus that Will, as described, set up a meeting with Attorney Gavin, and I would say all of those things are on the table to have an in-depth conversation of what is going on right now with the district, what could that look like. Just to put it out there, there is conversation amongst 3 board members that makes a majority who sound like they are in favor at this point in time of termination. Unless something changes, I think that that is inevitable.
Well, unless we realize the true financial cost of this. And
They
then,
don't care. It doesn't seem that they care about the financial impact possible to this district. And that
So-
scares me.
I think that, I like the idea of Will having a conversation and reporting back at the next, workshop.
We can't, okay, just to back up.
Please.
Again, don't tie it to any specific scheduled meeting. We just need to choose a date as a board that we can come back in a special meeting to discuss the findings of the negotiations, and I really believe
And vote
that
at that
as a
meeting?
board there, Attorney Gavin should be part of that conversation there, so that other board members can chime in and have that an additional negotiation beyond whatever it is, because we can't do this, we either do this all together, right, here in the sunshine, or one of us has to be tasked. We just don't have the luxury of doing it any other way. So whichever method the board thinks is best, we can do that. But if you want me to have that conversation, I just need a few things that the outcomes that you would want in this negotiation, so that we can find out how we get there, right? But it has to be clear. Do you want with the current proposal that was put out there already? Would you want Attorney Gavin to also be the district attorney in place of the school board attorney? If that's a yes or no.
That's not our decision.
Well, it's a negotiation. That's
No,
my
but
point.
but legally, we can't even, that's
I know
Superintendent
it
Moore's
would be
decision.
but what I'm saying is, don't worry so much about what our, if I'm gonna have a negotiation, I have to know
negotiate
what the
something.
terms are. I have to know what your wants are, and so ultimately I can negotiate on the behalf of the board, right? So we'll work out those details, but I agree with you that if we create a new position, that would be in the purview of the superintendent, of who that person would be. But we're trying to seek, through this method, we're trying to seek a mutual termination, so that everybody leaves clean, we part ways, and however this.
So I'll give you kind of some of the parameters I think would be wise. You've got 1.5 years till she fully retires. I think if there could be agreement, and of course Superintendent Moore, I know we talked about this, so it would be completely up to Superintendent Moore. But if there is if the opportunity exists, if you're looking to do a district attorney and a school board attorney, that since Chrissy is in the middle of the litigation for the school district as well, that she continue in that favor, right, in that role. And we look to hire a school board attorney, and that would also give that person additional opportunity to even transition. But one of the financial liabilities I worry about is that loss of full retirement and how that comes back on the district.
What does that look like?
So, which,
Like,
the financial or
what does retirement mean? Like, is there something she doesn't, like, what is she not?
She would, so her contract ends in 1.5 years, and at that point in time, she is eligible for full retirement at her rate. If she retires before that, that percentage, that rate changes. If we terminate her, then you've got that gap in between what she would have
This is the
made in
Florida
retirement. Yeah.
But she could still seek other employment. If she doesn't have,
But-
she doesn't
but
have
it's-
to retire.
But it's this contract.
Doesn't matter.
It's
Yeah.
this contract.
But a retirement could be, the retirement's not tied to this contract. She could go to work at the end of
Yeah,
this
but-
contract for somebody else and
Doesn't
not
matter.
retire.
But you're right.
Yeah.
But
So-
if you were in those shoes, is that what you would do, or you would claim the loss? Which would you do?
I don't know what the,
Right.
what the rules are on that, but.
So what I'm.
What I'm here to do really is let me get you what you.
So
want.
what
that-
that's
you're
what I'm
worried
trying to
about-
give
You're worried
you.
about the liability of the retirement.
And the
portion
salary,
and the salary.
if there's a civil suit, right? So I'm worried about the total package, which would be over 300,000, and then who knows what exactly the full retirement piece is.
Yeah.
But, so I'd be in favor of some sort of district attorney role and a school board member role, and let the 1.5-year contract run out.
It's almost a bonus because we have a chance to try out how outside attorney's firm would work.
Well,
with
and
school board.
you don't need.
But you get that, you'll get it, we've never done it in this district.
No, I was just gonna say, but it would probably be a part-time.
No, they'd have to be, well, they
Yeah,
would
I mean, like
assign you
in Volusia
attorneys.
County, they pay an attorney hourly for the school board,
Yep.
and then they have a staffed one for the
Yep,
district.
they
And I
do.
know others have gone that way, and I preferred that model, but, but.
Well,
whether
it keeps
that's-
it clean.
Yeah, so.
I don't
hear
have
you,
a problem with that
Colleen.
model either, it's just the
Okay.
financial one that we, and job description wise.
Okay, was there anything else?
Because the job descriptions would need to be revised.
Right, I mean, so that's a whole nother conversation on
Yeah.
the flip side of this, if we decide to go this
Yep,
route, so.
yep.
So, okay, and was there anything else, Dr. Conklin, you'd like to add?
No,
to that? Okay.
to me, that's just the
All right.
cleanest, easiest.
And Chair Massaro?
I think that's fair, I mean, I'm sorry that Ms. Hunt has had such a horrible relationship. And I understand why she feels the way she does. It's unfortunate she got herself into some of that situation. And whether you like it or not, it's the truth. I don't care if I'm chair, I don't wanna be chair next round, so I really don't care. It gives me my voice back finally, and I'll be glad to have it. So, the idea, and I am sorry that that's happened that way. But, you know, I'm glad at this particular point that this board only has to oversee 2 employees. And I'm sure the rest of the district is too. Because you've already replaced the superintendent, and now you're looking to do the same thing with the attorney, and I wish you well in this endeavor.
We've gotten great feedback, so, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good, let's hope so, let's hope it continues that way, and it doesn't affect our bottom line, because right now, we do have one we have to keep considering. So let's hope so. You know, it's ironic, you don't trust the superintendent, but yet, trust the school board attorney, but yet let her write the superintendent's contract. That's interesting to me.
We've had a say in that, Chair Massaro. Just keep in mind, we had a long conversation, a collaborative effort in that, so I think that that's a big part of
okay?
that, right.
Okay, all right.
Would you like to have it
No.
reviewed by another attorney?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not
So-
gonna waste any more districts' money.
Okay. So Chair Massaro, is there anything else that you would like in this negotiation other than what Dr. Conklin has put forward?
No, I think it's good, I think she's got it nailed. What is our financial impact? That concerns me.
Okay. And Ms. Hunt, what are the terms that you would consider a mutual termination with the school board attorney?
Will, do you have the language in front of you from the attorneys that we
Some here,
worked with?
I have it all here. What area did you want?
I believe it's the summary paragraph at the very end.
see it?
I'm trying to.
It's
pull it
on.
up.
I have it.
It's on.
You want to see it? That's
Board.
it.
It's on the
Is it there now?
screen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we have it now?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on the screen. So just again, for the benefit of the public, although I believe they can see it on the screen if they're watching. In short, this amount of 12 weeks of base salary plus accrued sick and annual leave, which would just already be, upon any departure, would be paid out, appears to be the maximum amount that will need to be paid to Ms. Gavin in order to conclude the school board's relationship with her. Thus, if the school board is prepared to negotiate a resolution that does not exceed the 12 weeks of base salary plus accrued sick and annual leave, then the negotiation of mutually agreeable separation agreement, this is a lot. Now this is the piece here, including a general release of claims, would appear to be the best option.
That's the mutually agreeable separation.
Yes, but it proceeds, and so let me.
And the 12 weeks pay is related to the DOA hearing.
Just
It's not
those.
if the termination of the contract. Look, see in this page,
And you know what?
right
That's-
here.
That's actually fine. The piece that I would want to add is just the, including a general release of claims. I think that if we went into a mutual agreement, and we'll, as far as the terms go, again, in that conversation of, you know, a transition and whatnot that you will be having, or if that's consensus for you to have, I'm not as worried about whether it is a month, 2 months, and, you know, I'm not as big about, but I would ask that any mutual agreement would include the general release of claims in any language.
Okay.
Okay.
And, Ms. Chong?
I want to ask that our attorney not make any comments to the media about the school board until this is all resolved. And we do need to, I would like to know more about the retirement situation.
Okay. All right, so I may have to engage the attorney again for some of these questions. With Shuts, because if we're talking about certain things about, again, bringing up civil liability, bringing up the retirement potential, with the remainder of the contract salary, you know, because those are areas of law, I will have to engage them. I'm sure that we can get that done in a fairly efficient manner. They're not very, I don't believe, very complicated questions.
Can you do it in an hour?
I would hope so.
No,
Yeah,
well, that's
yeah, I mean,
$575.
believe me, I'm not gonna be sitting there
Okay.
sharing my weekend with them, you know, so,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I'm saying,
I'll
yeah,
make it very clear.
Because they charge
to the point.
$575 an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
Although, did we use all our time? Do you know? if
We may
used-
have some left.
I don't know.
Did we?
Good. I used to have 20 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
So we
We're
might
good.
be all
We're
right
good.
in there, so
We're
good,
good.
okay, good, so.
Get
we'll-
our money's worth.
Yeah. I'll try and keep it within what we have allotted, so.
Okay.
Do my best. All right, very good. So now, the last, there's just two more things. One, before we set a date for our special meeting, what I'm gonna request is that the attorney has to at least agree that she wants to have this conversation, because without her willingness to have this conversation, there's no point in having it.
And I
So,
agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
so,
Miss Gavin, can you join us at the table, please? First of all, thank you for your patience during this conversation. I'm sure there's times you wanted to jump in and respond, but you didn't. So, what is your feeling towards working to this
Well,
possibility.
hold on, I thought we were just gonna find out if she wants to
Mutual
have the
agreement.
conversation.
That's exactly what's going to.
Right? We're not
Yeah.
having the conversation
No.
right now.
No, 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 no.
I'm sure this has already been difficult enough,
Yes,
okay.
that's exactly what I was gonna ask. What is your opinion on pursuing the possibility of a mutual agreement?
I'm willing to consider a mutual agreement of how we can resolve this matter.
Okay, fair enough?
Right, fair
We
enough.
got it. That's all we needed.
So we'll schedule time to have a conversation, and so next, we just need to schedule a date for our special meeting.
Yeah.
That we can,
So do we need to bring this tonight at all, or no? We're good?
do we? I don't think,
I
because since we're
don't
not,
think
it's just scheduling a meeting, and we shouldn't need to.
It's on the agenda for
It's fine as a
action.
placeholder.
We could just
It's
table
placeholder,
it.
so it can be tabled.
The only day, you guys, that I'm here, honestly, I'm leaving on the 27th
Of-
of October.
Okay.
And I'm at a national conference earlier in the week.
When do you come back?
But Thursday, the 26th, is the day in between I'm home.
Of October?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to work that day. When do you come back?
I come back Wednesday. Let me see what time I come back Wednesday.
On the first?
What,
Wednesday, the 25th?
is 1 week from today too soon? Oh, it has to be noticed?
We have to know, we have to know, but we're trying to work around Dr. Clarkman's
But
schedule.
I am too, because
her
she's
travel dates.
leaving, what, the 27th?
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if the 26th didn't work, if the 24th.
I'm available the 24th.
Yeah, I'm not back from the conference until the 25th.
Okay.
When do you get back on the 20, well, wait. You work
Unless
on the
we-
25th?
What about the 30?
I work that day.
Okay, she works that day, so the
Or the-
25th is out.
Wait, what? I'm working half a day, the 25th.
How about on the 1st of November?
I'm not here.
It sounds
When
like
you
the,
get back?
it sounds like a part of the day, the 25th might be available. What half
That's
the
just gonna be
day?
tough because there's that chamber lunch also.
Yeah.
Do we
Yeah,
need
I'm
more
not
than a
even
couple
back till
hours?
nighttime.
Oh,
Okay, on the 25th?
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Sorry.
Okay,
So-
what day?
And so, I'm just confused, you're.
Well, I'm back in Daytona at 5:30, so if we did a 7, I know it's late.
On the evening of the 25th?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I work.
Oh, sorry.
That's not gonna work anyway.
So then,
I could
and
work
then you're
until
meeting
8 p.m.
again on the
at night, so it's
27th?
not
Is
guaranteed.
that
oh,
what?
okay. What was that one?
You leave the 27th?
And you're gone until, when do you come back?
I'm not back until right around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Oh, you're gone all that time. Okay. Wow.
We may not have a choice.
Well, is there anything that, are you able to adjust your schedule maybe
What?
for the 26th?
I could probably leave early,
What time would that be then for you, Christie?
like 6 p.m. You said you come back when?
I come back Wednesday night, the 25th, into Daytona at like 5:30. But Thursday, the 26th, I'm home in between. And then I leave on the 27th.
So what's your time frame look like, Christie, on that 26th?
I work 8 to 8, but I could probably try to leave at like 6.
So that would be a 7.
Yeah.
7 o'clock meeting on the 26th. I can do that.
Okay. I can do
Please don't let me forget.
that. Put it on your calendar.
October 26th.
At 7.
I'm sorry, is this the 25th or 26th?
26th.
26th.
At 7.
Right.
But is it, just really quick, is it also the 25th that you're working until 8?
Yes.
Oh, wow, okay, cool.
October 26th, 7 p.m., special board meeting.
Yeah.
When do you come back on the 25th?
I come back at 5:30. But it's Daytona.
Oh, that's good. All right, so we're at 7
Okay,
o'clock
so
on the
we've got that
26th.
7 o'clock. All right.
Got that?
And
No,
then-
we posted.
right.
All right, we good then?
Thank you. Take a 5-minute break.
How much more do we have?
One item.
Is it gonna take long?
No, it's up to you all.
Yeah.
It's your agenda item.
All right, do you want a 5-minute break? We have one more item to go. What's your deal?
Let's just get it done.
Let's-
I'm good to go.
I'm good.
We can go.
Yeah,
All right,
let's
keep going.
finish it.
All right. All right, so we're on.
I'm good, yeah.
11:01, School Board Policy 205, Board Procedure Manual. Ms. Gavin.
Board, you all had requested a review of School Board Policy 205 as well as the School Board Procedure Manual. I believe that this was actually Ms. Chung had requested this, and following the meeting that we had the other night, the business meeting, I recommended that it be placed before the board, because if you all were wanting to make any changes either to School Board Policy 205 or to the Procedure Manual, more specifically the Procedure Manual, that this could be done. And then when you all have your reorganization meeting on November 28th, you would be able to place on the agenda item for business at the business meeting for the board procedure manual to be updated and changed, and or if there's school board policy, we would need to go ahead and advertise whatever changes you are wanting to make to school board policy. So School Board Policy 205 addresses how you are going to be holding your school board meetings. And I don't know if any of you have had a chance to look at the board policy to determine whether or not there are any specific areas that you believe need to be adjusted or changed, but that would be one of the areas. Or whether or not under your school board operating manual, specifically under Roman numeral 3C, that addresses your board meetings. It covers the topics of your business meetings, your consent versus action items, workshops, executive sessions, closed hearings, and the conduct of meetings. So I'm not sure what areas that you are wanting to look to amend or change, but it was to give you all an opportunity and a chance. I did not receive any communication prior to this agenda item coming before you for any suggestions, but.
Did somebody bring this forward for a
It was
reason?
Ms. Chung.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
What was it?
I think it was because there was a lot of ruckus and stuff. But I'd like to see a cap on public comment time, like a 30 minutes, similar to the Florida School Board.
At the beginning of the meeting, ma'am? So beginning of the meeting, and so I know that one of the things that was also a topic of conversation was originally, and I'm gonna say pre-COVID, when we had our business meetings, just like our agenda meetings, the beginning of the meeting could have public comment regarding any matter, whether it was on the agenda or not. Then with COVID, because our meetings had to all be online during COVID, and because members of the public could not be present, their public comments were coming in virtually, and we saw a spike in the number of public comments. When we then actually came back to live, we still had the issue regarding some were wearing masks, others were not, and there was sort of a lot of disarray surrounding the topic, and while masks weren't on the agenda, it created lengthier meetings where the board's business during the business meetings was not being conducted until later on in the evening. As a result, the board chose to amend its procedure manual to indicate that public comment at the beginning of a business meeting would be limited to those items that are on the agenda. And then at the end of the meeting, public comment could be on any subject matter. We kept in place that during the workshops, whether it's the 1 o'clock information meeting or whether it's a 3 o'clock working agenda meeting, that public comment at the beginning or end could be on any topic. So one of the questions was whether or not, and Ms. Chung is indicating, look, if you're gonna have it at the beginning of the meeting, and maybe if it's allowed to be on any subject matter, that it be capped at 30 minutes, if I'm understanding that.
I'm
or-
okay with leaving it the way it is as far as, you know, it needs to be about what's on the agenda in the beginning. I'm okay with that. But for both, I think there should be a 30-minute limit, because there's been times it goes on and
Like cumulative?
yeah,
But
so
that-
the time
is
would be
that
split
even,
apart.
Is that even legal? Like
That's what the
it's
Florida
legal.
board does.
Really? Like 30, so someone could not get their chance if they're the
No,
11th.
so the chair, let's say you have 30 people that want to
Yeah.
talk, the chair would divide it, they'd all get 1 minute.
Oh, okay, so everybody gets to talk, but it's divided up. I want to, you know, I guess as we talk through this, and maybe this is a larger conversation, but we are here because of the public and for the public. And if I'm thinking about, I attended a city council meeting way back when, I think around impact fees. And I went at like 6 or 7, that's when the meeting started. And the meeting went on and on with special announcements and different things that were really, in my opinion, not necessary. And it wasn't, I think the meeting went till 11 p.m. And the public didn't get to start talking until, you know, late in the evening. We at this point with our agendas, and I'm not trying to be, I think it's great, the proclamations and the different spotlights, but we are going almost an hour. We're going almost an hour. So we have working parents coming possibly to make comment. They're already waiting an hour. And so I think it's been brought up before that not only do they have to wait that hour, but then sometimes all the way to the end of the meeting to make the comment that they want to make, especially if it's not on the agenda. So I would just ask, whatever we decide on this, I want to be efficient, certainly, but I also want to always side on what is in the best interest of the public, right, who own these schools.
I would say that I like the format we have right now, and here's why. I don't really want to limit the public's ability to have comment. I really want to leave that open. I want to give people their time. I really think that's a big and it's an important thing that people need to be heard. I really believe in that. I understand that, but there's sometimes not an awareness that, especially at that evening meeting, that is our business meeting. We have to get the business done. We cannot be making important decisions at 11, 12 o'clock at night when we're exhausted, right? We need to be, so I like the fact that now we make it in the beginning only for agenda items, because that is what we're taking action on that night. And if somebody has opposition or is in favor of it and they want to express themselves on that to help us come to our decision, or may bring good information to us, I think that should, that's the way it is. If we do allow it up front on non-agenda items, that is the only area where I would say that I would consider some limitations, but then it is, I think you create a bigger problem, because then there's that last person that doesn't make it, and then they're upset because now they can't wait to the evening. So I think it's better, it's either we choose to do one or the other, and but it is very important that we get our business meeting done, and I will stay there till 2 in the morning if I have to. I'll be honest, I wouldn't want to enjoy staying up till 2 in the morning doing public comment, but if I have to, I will. But I really do think it's important that we get our business meeting done. So that's my take.
So currently, that is how we are conducting our business.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I support, I like the way we have it now.
I understand
personally.
Christie's request.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't know if we can have an addendum perhaps when there is more than 20 public comments that we limit it time-wise.
So there are districts that do have if there are 30 comments, and let's just say you're wanting it to be 30 minutes, then instead of each person having 3 minutes,
They get a
there's
minute.
30 comments, they would get a minute. If there's 15, it would be 2 minutes, and they limit it in that fashion and nature. There are districts that do have that.
I would only like to see that if there were more than, a set amount, I don't know.
Honestly, our meetings really haven't,
No.
very rare occasion, our meetings will
Yeah.
go super late.
They have.
If you wanted to move public meetings public comment maybe before all the proclamations and everything, maybe that would help, I don't know. But I think the way we do it now is okay. Unfortunately, people come to express themselves, they come for a reason, and to limit that, I think, opens ourselves up for a whole host of criticism.
Well, if anything, though, to your point, and names are escaping me, Chanel has brought up several times, I want to make comment, I don't want to wait maybe 2.5 hours. Is there a possibility of, I'm not trying to be weedy here, but if it's on the agenda, you get 3 minutes. If it's not on the agenda, during that same time period, you get 1 minute, or so that we can hear those things, and then we also open it up at the end for. I want to. She has mentioned this many times.
Yeah,
I think
it's been
that's
her
somewhat
thing.
valid.
It's just always, we had originally didn't have agenda items or open it up at all, and that's when we changed it to COVID, and then she wanted to change back, and we did.
So maybe that's what maybe that's what we
Maybe
need
we
to
can do
do.
something
Just
like
look
that.
at the first public comment is public comment on agenda items and other items. And then you can have your follow-up at the very end would be on other items. That would get people that are coming to share.
I don't know if we can do, because and I think you'll know what I'm talking about. We do have, of course, times where I have my 3 minutes in the front end, and then I stay the whole time, so I want to make my full 3 minutes, and I'm kind of saying the same thing at the back end. So I think this is a cool conversation to have, just about
Can I give an example? Like, we're all
Yeah.
getting emails about cell phone towers.
Oh, yeah.
It's possible 20 people could show up tonight and talk about that,
Oh,
because we
sure.
want that happening before we conduct our business, like you're saying.
Right now, the way we have it now, that would not happen, because it's not
They
on
would
the
have to wait
agenda.
to the end.
They have to wait to the end.
But
Which
to
I
Chanel,
like.
But
I
can I
think
just,
it's
if
smart.
like Chanel were sitting here, what she's arguing is this. Someone can sign in and say, why are you here? Other, or many things, and they get to talk, right? And they bring up cell phone towers at the beginning of the meeting. And what she is stating is, all of the people who are following the rules and being specific are having to wait the hour for the special announcements and proclamations, wait for the full business meeting, and then they're going at the end. So I just,
That would probably be the chair's responsibility to.
just cut it
to
down.
if it's not-
Stop and say that this isn't an agenda item.
It hasn't happened a lot, but you're right,
Yeah,
it
it
does
doesn't.
happen. It doesn't, and it's not been a big problem, but it does happen.
Well, and they also don't know, a lot of them don't know
They
what they're
don't know.
talking about
Right.
is on the agenda or it isn't on the agenda. Like, it could be a subdivision of what that's what
Yeah,
happened.
Board,
Yeah.
I will let you know, at the night meeting, I have attempted when they've put it under public comment. And I'm like, okay, that's not a topic. And so I will approach that person during the business meeting and say, could you tell me what your topic is? If they indicated something that's actually on the agenda, I will amend that public comment to actually be what the topic is. So that way they are speaking in the beginning. If they tick off that they're speaking on agenda changes, okay, well, that's not an item on the agenda, right? So that would not be covered. If they say old business, again, that's not an agenda
So
item.
Christie, just real quick,
Yes,
something
ma'am.
that Ryan is in here, I think I brought up to Ryan, like maybe even at the last workshop with when this came up. Because this is digital, correct, the sign-in?
Yes, ma'am.
So what I asked was, is there a way to load in some way into that digital sign-up the main topics from the agenda, and you literally have to click on what of the agenda?
Like
Like the
5.01,
drop-down-
Centegic.
Exactly.
Like a drop-down menu.
It's on
5.01.
Centig, right, and I click on that, and maybe you can even do I can select multiple of them. Or if it's not one of those, then I select
Other, and then other
and
pushes
the
you
others
to the
push
end.
it to the back. So I'm just wondering if there is a digital solution
I
to
don't
this.
know.
Might be.
Might be. They'll look into that.
I know this
We've
is
had a
like.
conversation about us getting resources together, and right now the team that would be capable of doing that is really focused on developing and getting our films process stood up.
So not like an immediate thing, but maybe at some point that could be possibly looked at.
Do we have it in the rules, like, please walk down the front aisle, like stuff like that? Is that there? Sorry.
It's not that specific.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
know
say
that's
to
like
come
a
to the
small
center.
thing,
And if I
but
can add, I think when Chrissy originally brought this up, was not necessarily for the purpose of like limiting their ability to speak or their time, but like what are the efficiencies that we can have in place? So if I've signed up, you know, can we say, okay, we have LaShaka Moore followed by Cheryl Macero, so those people are already on deck and ready to go, so that we can ensure that all the things that we're doing are maximizing efficiency, so that the board's business can be taken care of, as well as we can be respectful of the time of the individuals.
And we did that when, post-COVID, when we had still a significant number, we would announce who the person on deck was. When we've had 5 people, we've waxed that off, but we can certainly bring that back, as well.
All right. Any other conversation?
So, right now, we're just leaving it as is, and then, is everybody satisfied?
I mean,
with that?
yeah, I'm the odd man out, so it's okay.
Well, yeah, but
I don't understand. Well, what is it that you were seeking?
Yeah, 'cause
I guess I missed that.
The
What-
30-minute limit similar to the Florida
You
school
mean
board.
across the board, like?
No, for each one.
Each one, so 30 minutes, so, I see what you're saying, but it would just reduce the amount of time that they could have, right?
The only concern I have is at the end of the meeting, is you would need to then actually have a cutoff time, because what I will tell you frequently happens at the end of the meeting is people who weren't gonna talk, all of a sudden they're in the back signing up, and I mean, I'm just saying, you know, from a logistical standpoint, you would have to then impose if you want to comment at the end of the meeting, sign up would have to be by
A certain time.
yeah, you know, the superintendent information, you know, whatever it is, it would have to be set, because I don't know as you can say a certain time, because our meetings ebb and flow based upon the subjects that are being discussed, that, you know, to make it a time certain, I think would not be
Gotcha.
appropriate.
But before a
But
bracket
a
of
cutoff
the
time, yes,
agenda,
sir,
yeah.
yeah, of the agenda, like, that would be the only thing, because like I said, there are times where someone says something at the end of the meeting, and all of a sudden you see somebody go to the back of the room to sign up because they want to speak, and they hit enter, and all of a sudden it's, another person has signed up.
And I think it's already in here, abusive conduct, intimidation, harassment. I just think we need to tighten up on that, that's all. Like, there's been times people-
It's difficult, and I had asked, and I still ask again, that somehow we get those posted, like
Yeah.
even where the timer is, that it's on there.
If we could
Rules and
display before
regulations
the
of-
meeting, have
yes.
that projected on
Yes,
the big screen.
exactly.
So people can read that
'Cause
ahead
they don't
of
see it.
time.
A lot of
I'm
people
pretty
don't
sure
get
that, I think that they worked on that. Brian may already have that set up, so we'll
We haven't
follow
seen
up on
it,
that,
yeah,
yes.
and that would be very helpful, because a lot of people
Oh,
don't
I
pick up agendas.
think he does have it behind us on the screen.
Yeah, but I think he did one where it's
I
in
mean-
it's built into the timer, is what you're
Yeah,
referring to,
exactly.
yes.
So the
Okay.
3 o'clock, the 3 minutes is going, but.
The
there's
3
rules.
minutes is in the corner, but the rules are up
And you're gonna
there
get individuals that
front.
aren't gonna follow it anyway, trust me.
But then you can cut them off too.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And that's when you have to come in, because I will give you a signal or stop the mic, and then because it could happen any day, any night. And
Yeah, because
you
you've
got
got
the
the
button.
mute.
You got a mute button.
this one has the mute button.
Yeah, mute button, I mean, yeah, you sit with the mute button there, because I used to
Got
sit
you.
there.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
I didn't know what was happening. but
She's looking at me
now
like, what are you talking about? You got it.
Okay, so
All
at
right.
this time, we're going to leave the policy and the board procedure manual as it stands. Okay.
And I will get
Check
the.
on that, because,
yes.
yes, that would be so helpful to the people that come in the community, because they don't know.
I will
Okay,
do it.
unless they've been here before and had problems, then they know.
Right,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, going on to old business. Anybody with old business?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, who wants to
Sorry.
go?
But just with all the emails about 5G towers, and I know Dave sent out some information, I'm wondering if we should have a conversation about that. I am huge on evidence-based research. I do want to make sure we stick by that and not conspiracies. But that's possibly a conversation.
Yeah, I think it's coming, because I think we're all in the same boat now, and they are working on, Dave is not here. Is Dave? Yeah, yeah. You are working on getting that information collected, Mr. Freeman?
I'm trying to get Crown Castle to be able to come and present something.
Yeah, because 5G, they never had 5G when they made up a lot of these regulations. That's a whole nother.
It would just be
thing to
good
think
for
about.
our community to have information.
Yep.
So a future agenda.
Yeah, it's coming, it is coming. Anybody, who else had old business?
Yeah, I would just like for us and for the community to address the cybercrime situation, just to get an update of whatever we can share publicly about where we're at in that investigation and any remedies that we might seek that we can talk about publicly at the moment.
I believe you're gonna make an announcement, you're gonna talk about that this evening. Is that true,
Sure,
or do you
yes,
wanna do it
I
now?
will.
This
Yeah.
evening?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's
I will
got
make
it.
a
We'll wait
comment.
for that.
Yeah.
It's coming.
I will make
That's
a comment.
coming. Anybody else?
That was gonna be mine also. I just, as a board, I just almost even Superintendent Moore to have a financial update of, we talked a lot about the reserve fund and our percentage and, where we are as the financial health of the district. So that was gonna be my question of what does this mean for us financially?
All right, any other old business? New business? Nobody?
May I just add?
Yes, go
So the
ahead.
cell phone towers, we likely will not get it on for November. We'll do our best to try to work for November, but that may be pushed. We'll make a comment tonight about the cybercrime, and then the financial update, we'll get that on for the next meeting.
Can you also add to your comments that we're putting together a workshop on the cell tower piece?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Can I, and forgive me, because I don't know if this was for old or new, but something that I've brought up a couple of times now, and this is really in alignment with the messaging from Sheriff Staley, but I just feel like we as a board need to talk about code of conduct and student behavior, and it is so disheartening when Tommy calls me and says, we have, multiple students looking at, he's using words like felony and battery, right? And I don't know where we go from here on that conversation, but I would hate to leave this meeting without bringing that up of, again, how do we better maybe empower our parents? Again, this is in alignment with Sheriff Staley and his messaging. Hey, parents, you need to talk with your students about the implications. And we've seen this not just from the brawl the other day, but whether it's bomb threats or other threats. That's just something that it's happening often enough, month after month after month, that I don't know if that's something that, again, you could report on that, of maybe anything that's going on in the district that you are doing to address that topic.
Yeah, I think some of it is just the community needs some kind of communication,
Reassurance.
reinforcement. I don't know if we're allowed to do that or not, but I wish we could relay to them, like, yes, this is being handled, we're not ignoring you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Any other new business? All right, public comment. Do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am.
No public comment. Closing comments, at least till tonight.
I'll save mine for later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, then we're going to close this meeting and adjourn till 6 o'clock tonight. Meeting is adjourned.